Sword in hand, Shun strikes a pose like he's announcing, "The star of the show is here, folks." Out of absolutely nowhere, 3 little flying monsters show up and go straight for him, without even a howdy. But Shun isn't phased, he immediately gets into a fighting stance, ready to turn these critters into sushi. In the blink of an eye, he dashes forward faster than my motivation to pay my bills and, with a single strike, sends all 3 monsters packing. The crowd that was just watching the drama from the sidelines is totally blown away by the kid's strength. And the gossip starts flowing just as you'd expect from the swift rookie. The guy's an absolute beast. But right in the middle of the celebration, Shun starts feeling a super weird vibe in his body, kinda like heartburn after eating way too much chili. As our energy starts shooting up his arm, and from the look on his face, it was not a pleasant surprise. And the kid just stands there, thinking, are you serious? Did this whole mess really have to happen right now? To make a bad situation worse, the system sends a notification letting him know that, thanks to his level down skill, his level is about to drop by 1. Looking at his status window, he thinks there's no point in even trying. It feels like he's swimming against the current. His level is like a Black Friday sale, it just keeps dropping and never stops. The story explains that a skill is a special power a person gets when they hit level 50. For example, if a newbie gets a sword skill, they become a master of the blade. Pretty simple, right? And if they get a magic skill, they can start slinging spells around like a legit wizard. That's why our poor Shun grinned harder than a skater on a rail to reach level 50. But the skill he got, well, let's just say it wasn't the winning lottery ticket. Basically, the system decided to troll him hard and gave him a unique skill called level down. Honestly, I don't know whether to laugh or mow him some cash for therapy. The scene cuts abruptly, and now we're in a cave with someone yelling for another person to go meet their maker. Lying on the ground, all beaten up, Shun asks a guy named Gia's area to just chill out. But the blonde dude, who apparently has an ego bigger than my ex's, gets all bent out of shape and yells that it's Lord Gia's area to him, and for good measure, calls Shun an idiot. While our MC is coughing up some weird stuff, a couple of onlookers comment that the swift tricky really messed up, and to top it off, he picked a fight with Lord Gia's area of all people. All busted up and surrounded by swords, we see that Shun is at level 1, and his one and only amazing skill is that level down thing. The story then flashes back 5 years, back when he was the talk of the town, known as the swift rookie for leveling up faster than weeds. Except this useless skill makes his level plummet every time he gets into a fight. Thanks to this gift called level down, he just kept getting weaker. And now, he's dropped to the level of a regular person with no special powers to brag about. The crew that used to hang with him, they vanished faster than my paycheck at the end of the month. Everyone around him just disappeared because now they saw him as dead weight and started treating him like he was nothing. And he, of course, is shocked to see how quickly people switch sides. Classic fair weather friends. The story explains that this Gia's area guy, the arrogant blondie, is the leader of this pack of fakes. Shun thinks to himself that, obviously, he is not the least bit happy with this whole charade. He remembers his father who protected a lot of people and was called a great warrior, and thinks that he wanted to be like that to a guy who helps others. With that motivation, he traveled all over the world searching for a way to break his jinx. During his journey, he even helped a mother and her child who were grateful for his kindness. But not even doing good deeds could help our MC shake off this curse that was stuck to him like gum on a shoe. Back in the present, Gia's area lets out their classic movie villain laugh and says Shun had it coming, even mocking him by asking if he misses being called the swift rookie. The blondie then reveals that his favorite hobby has been hating Shun for a long time. The guy then rubs more salt in the wound, asking if Shun has ever stopped to think about how awful it is to be surpassed by someone your own age. The blonde dude, having zero patience, gets sticked off and slugs Shun. Even while getting hit, Shun doesn't back down and keeps staring the guy down with a look that basically says, "Your opinion is like a you too bad to me, I skip it." Gia's area gets furious at the defiant look and yells that he hates it. Looks like someone's got a fragile ego. The guy then blurts out that this is the perfect chance to send Shun to the great beyond, leaving our poor dude there with a look on his face like he totally missed the joke. Out of nowhere, a magic circle appears on the ground, and 3 wolves pop out of it. The creatures stare down Shun. Gia's area, with a cynical little smirk, says that even he can't do all the dirty work himself and needs a little help from his rabid puppies. The blondie takes the chance to taunt him, saying that in Shun's current state, he probably couldn't even last one round against one of these wolves. Shun, worried about everyone's safety, yells at him to stop messing around, because if things get out of hand, other adventurers could end up as monster chow. But Gia's area responds with a swift kick to Shun. Then, he turns and laughs to his henchmen, telling them to keep it down. One of the goons mentions he heard a rumor about a cute new girl in the dungeon, and Gia's area, who never misses an opportunity, says they shouldn't just be standing around. Before leaving, the blondie flashes a mischievous grin and warns, "Don't bother running, swift rookie." And for the grand finale, he reveals that he's summoned a bunch of other monsters, just to make sure Shun's party is an unforgettable one. With that, the wolves surround the guy, who's still just sprawled out on the floor. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off in Shun's head, and he realizes something incredibly important. He looks at his status window and realizes that fighting will only make his level drop even more, and things are already bad enough. With that in mind, he decides the best strategy story is to become the master of escaping and avoid any and all combat. Running through the cave, he comes face to face with a goblin and a few more wolves. Apparently, the welcome party isn't over yet. Hiding behind a wall, he realizes that Scumbag G's area left some presents scattered around here too. And he thinks that the blondie is a real sicko, because if he wanted to finish him off, he could have just summoned a final boss, not this swarm of small fry. In the middle of this thought, the kid hears a scream for help coming from somewhere nearby. Hearing the cry, he wonders what that was and immediately spots a girl surrounded by monsters, begging them to stay away. The girl is clearly terrified and has no idea why so many monsters are just hanging out around here. Shun gets that the situation is terrible and that he needs to do something and fast. But then doubt creeps in, and he asks himself if he can even fight in his condition. He knows his chances of winning are next to zero, since he gets weaker with every fight. So he decides to be rational and thinks that instead of jumping head first into the fray, it's better to wait for someone stronger to show up. Watching a wolf get closer to the girl, he tries to convince himself that making this choice doesn't make him a coward. He keeps repeating to himself, I'm not wrong, but his conscience is hitting him like a ton of bricks. In the end, his instincts win out, and without being able to stop himself, he leaps in front of the girl to protect her from the creatures. In a quick and precise move, he lands a direct hit on one of the wolves. Shun recognizes the creature as a blood wolf and knows that, in theory, a level 1 wouldn't stand a chance against it. But he's sent countless monsters of this type to the afterlife, so maybe he's got a shot. He then turns to the girl and tells her to get out of there, saying he's got this under control. The girl, surprised by his courage, thanks him for his help. But one of the wolves doesn't care about their emotional moment and lunges straight for Shun. The guy, already expecting it, prepares for the attack with his sword in hand. He remembers a lesson from monster biology class and realizes the blood wolf's weak spot is its belly. A hit there would do some serious damage. Shun then takes careful aim, getting ready to land a critical strike right on the creature's Achilles heel. And with one spectacular attack, he hits several wolves at the same time. The man is a machine. The girl's jaw drops. She's completely stunned by what she just witnessed, unable to say a word. Even though he's exhausted, Shun celebrates, saying that was awesome and that now there are only 2 more to finish the job. He faces the last few wolves and thinks that if he can just beat these guys, at least he'll have saved the girl. But the system, as usual, loves to be a party pooper, and a notification pops up saying he gained XP, but his level is going to decrease by 2. And with that troll move, his level drops from 1 to 0. Level 0. Is that even a thing? Shun just stares at the status window with a what is this nonsense look on his face, not understanding a single thing. Suddenly, an error message, like the blue screen of death, pops up in front of him. The guy's in shock, thinking his system caught some kind of virus. The message then delivers the big news: his level is now -1. You heard that right, the dude's level is overdrawn. He can hardly believe his level has gone into the negative. A very strange energy starts pouring out of his body, and he wonders what kind of bizarre glitch this is. The girl watches everything from a distance, while Shun can only think that all he wanted was to protect her. He wanted to be strong, he wanted to help people, just like his father did. And the guy wonders why, out of all the people in the world, he was the one who got such a cursed skill. But then he pulls himself together and thinks, wait a minute, why am I even thinking about giving up? He remembers that his dad wasn't the type to throw in the towel, no matter how tough things got. With a look full of determination, he clenches his fists and decides he's not going to quit. He'd already made his decision a long time ago. He would help anyone in need until the day he couldn't stand anymore. So, he decides he's not going to let this weird skill crush his spirit anymore. He asks himself why he should even care about this garbage skill. Not caring if his level turns into a phone number, he charges full speed at the remaining wolves. At the end of the day, the decision is made: he's going to protect that girl until the very end, and to heck with the rest. Suddenly, a mysterious voice, like a GPS from the great beyond, comes out of nowhere praising the guy's sense of justice and daring, as expected from someone so feared by us. Shun is more lost than a tourist without a map, looking all around, trying to figure out where that ghostly radio host voice is coming from. The voice calls him by name, Shun Bright, and congratulates him on reaching this pathetic state. Seriously, what kind of compliment is that? It's like congratulating someone for tripping on the sidewalk. The scene flashes, and suddenly, Shun finds himself in a really weird place, surrounded by the wolves again. He gets ready for a fight, but then he notices something bizarre: the monsters are frozen in place. The kid finds it super weird the wolves just paused mid-motion, as if their internet connection dropped. They look like wax figures, as if someone hit the pause button on the universe. And add more fuel to the fire of confusion, a new system notification pops up, announcing that by reaching a negative level, he has been freed from the curse. Oh, now it all makes sense, except not at all. Shun is blown away by the message that just appeared in front of him. As a result of this whole crazy mess, he can now use the power of the reverse side of the world, whatever that's supposed to mean. The kid has a giant question mark over his head, wondering what the heck this reverse side of the world even is. The system notification, just to make sure he got it, reinforces that the fact his level went negative is what freed him from the curse, and that in turn allows him to use this so-called power from the reverse side of the world. A new notification, because apparently there weren't enough, informs him that he can use his first error skill, Black Flame Magic, level 1. But of course, to use these error skills, he's going to need error points. It all makes sense as long as you don't think about it too hard. Shun is left wondering what this whole jumble of reverse side power and error points is, and notices that time is still completely frozen. He thinks that this is impossible. Suddenly, a mysterious guy appears in a burst of light, looking like an angel who took a wrong turn, and says it seems Shun has managed just fine. The young man is completely lost with no clue who this glowing being in front of him is. But then, a light bulb goes off and he seems to recognize the dude who just popped out of nowhere. Shun wonders if this is the same voice he heard before. The mysterious guy apologizes but warns him that the battery on his time-stopping remote is running low and he can't keep everything paused for much longer. So, he says he's going to give Shun the quick version of the whole situation. Out of nowhere, the kid gets spooked and wonders what kind of crazy movie is playing in his head. A mysterious voice tells him to pay close attention because the world is cursed by some great XXX. And the culprit behind it all? The level system itself. What a plot twist, huh? Shun is confused. What do you mean the level is a curse? Isn't leveling up supposed to make us stronger? The mysterious guy confirms it and says that's the whole trick of the so-called Dex XX's curse. Apparently, the level 99 cap they created is a barrier to stop humans from getting too powerful. But Shun, always the odd one out, has broken free from this curse, and that's why only he can obtain that. And that, in this case, is a power that ignores all the rules and restrictions of this world. Basically, a real-life cheat code. The guy wonders what kind of overpowered ability could possibly exist outside the rules. The mysterious guy says his time is up and starts to fade away like a bad W if I signal right in front of Shun. The kid tries to call him back, asking him to wait just a second, but it looks like the connection dropped for good. With an enigmatic smile, the mysterious man tells him to listen closely and remember one important piece of information. The golden tip is the lower Shun's level drops, the more power from the other side of the world he'll regain. It's reverse logic. And if he continues down this path, eventually his memories about this XXX will also return. And just like that, time returns to normal, and the wolves, which were serving as decorations, start charging at the guy again. Shun realizes the pause is over and that he's surrounded again. Reality hits hard, doesn't it? Without even enough time to blink, he gets thrown back by an attack from one of the wolves. Lying on the ground, he thinks that just sitting there, confused and pondering life, isn't going to solve the problem. And the creatures, who are not messing around, get ready to attack again, closing in on the guy from all sides. Seeing that things have gone south, he decides it's time to test out the new toy he just got his error skill. Shun then activates the Black Flame Magic with all his might, just to see what this new little power is all about. And the kid is just floored by the absurd power he just unleashed. He thinks that this has nothing to do with the fire magic he knew. This stuff is in a whole other league. And the weirdest part is that, even though it's his first time, he feels like he instinctively already knows how to use this power. The girl who was watching from the sidelines is impressed and comments that it was amazing how he cleared out so many wolves at once. And speaking of people who weren't invited to the party, Gia's area's crew shows up, drawn by the sound of the explosion. The blondie is completely shocked by the scene, unable to understand how his foolproof plan went so wrong. All worked up, he wonders why on earth Shun is still standing. One of Gia's area's goons is slack-jawed, wondering if Shun really took care of all those monsters by himself. The rescued girl confirms with a firm yes, and then asks, already losing her patience, how many times she has to say the same thing. The blondie points at Shun and blurts out, he's the swift rookie, as if that explains anything. The girl, completely fed up, gives Gia's area a shove and tells him to stop changing the subject, because nobody's talking about his old reputation. The gossiping henchmen comment that the girl is picking a fight with Gia's area, who's a big shot around here, and figure she must be from way out of town to be so clueless about the danger. The girl then turns to Shun and, very formally, says she's going to reintroduce herself, calling him Shun-sama. The kid, who is not at all used to this kind of treatment, gets all flustered. But the girl insists, saying she's already decided and that's what she's going to call him, period. At that moment, her status window reveals her name is Lai Chevalier and she's level 10. The blondie gets ticked off watching the scene and grumbles that girls always fell for Shun. Meanwhile, Shun peeks at his own status window and confirms the sad reality his level is now -1. He notices the text is all glitchy and that with such low defense, even a strong gust of wind could send him to Kingdom Come. And he wonders, once again, what the heck is going on with his system. His error skill screen shows that he has 60 out of 80 error points. He remembers the magic he used earlier and thinks that no matter how you look at it, that was on a completely different level. Normally to cast a spell with that much power, a guy would need to train for years. Lies comes closer and confesses that honestly, she still hasn't understood a single thing that happened here. We're with you, Lies, we didn't get it either. But Shun, in the midst of all this confusion, seems to have found a light at the end of the tunnel. With this new power, maybe he can finally become the man he always wanted to be, just like his father. But since a poor man's happiness is short-lived, a massive tremor startles both Shun and Lies. One of the blondie's henchmen senses a sinister presence approaching. The guy's danger sensor started beeping like an old microwave. And out of absolutely nowhere, a gigantic blue dragon appears in front of everyone, making their hearts pound. The system window identifies the beast as Demi-URGOS, the Void Dragon, but its level is all bugged out, full of weird characters. A great sign, not. Shun, always suspicious, asks Azaria if he was the one who summoned the big lizard, and the blondie snaps back, all irritated that he must be crazy, that he couldn't summon something that powerful even in his wildest dreams. The guy starts thinking if it's not a summoned monster, then what the heck is this creature that just showed up to crash the party? One of the blondie's henchmen starts panicking and screaming, while the other can only wonder in terror, what is that? Shun is also in shock, questioning what this gigantic, terrifying thing is right in front of him. But without a second thought, he already gets ready to fight the dragon. Is it courage or a lack of common sense? The jury's still out. As he faces the dragon, Shun gets a massive headache and wonders what strange memory is trying to make an appearance. He has the weird feeling that he's seen that creature somewhere before, major déjà vu. He remembers what the mysterious guy said and starts to wonder if this means he has selective amnesia or if he's just going crazy. The dragon, tired of being the center of attention without doing anything, lets out a full-force roar, sending everyone flying like they were paper dolls. And Shun notices something really bizarre. The wolves he had just sent to a better place were back on their feet. He sees the creatures regenerating and can't understand how that's possible since they should be lying quietly on the ground. One of Area's men, the famous Captain Obvious, remarks that the situation just got seriously complicated. You don't say, no one noticed. The dragon then starts charging up an energy attack, and from the look on its face, it's not a ray of sunshine that's coming. One of the henchmen, in pure desperation, tries to use a defense spell against the attack. Poor guy, he had no idea. Area yells at the guy, calling him an idiot and telling him to run, because that spell wouldn't even block a sneeze from the dragon. But it was too late. The guy is hit head-on by the beast's attack. He screams in pain as he's completely swallowed by the blue energy. The others can only watch in terror as the guy plummets to the ground, completely drained of strength. Shun then figures out the dragon's ability can manipulate a target's life. Seeing the chaotic situation, Lies gets desperate and screams for Shun to get out of there as fast as he can. But the girl, who has more guts than sense, stands in front of him and says that since he already saved her once, it's now her turn to return the favor. Shun warns her that this is a terrible idea because there's something very, very wrong with that creature. He thinks that he's never in his life heard of a skill that manipulates time. That's video game final boss power, not some random monsters. The dragon, without giving them time for small talk, prepares to unleash another full power energy attack. Lies bravely tries to defend herself with her sword, but the beast's power is in a completely different league. The girl is hit square on by the attack and tries to resist with all the strength she has. Shun also feels the impact of the blow and realizes the situation, which was already bad, has now turned into a complete disaster. He then decides it's all or nothing time, resolving to bet all his chips on this completely insane move. Just then, the dragon's attack lands a direct hit and throws Lies backward with the force of a runaway truck. Desperate, she screams Shun's name as she's dragged away by the energy. It's a scene worthy of a soap opera. All that's missing is the dramatic soundtrack. Poor Shun lets out a cry of pain as he's completely engulfed by the creature's attack, which was clearly not messing around. The MC's hand looks like it's about to disintegrate in the middle of all that blue energy. Things have gotten ugly. Even while being swallowed by the energy, the MC struggles to hang on tight. He bets everything on one specific memory, hoping with all his might that his gut feeling isn't completely bugged. And out of nowhere, an error window just pops up in front of everyone, basically signaling that the system just blue screened. The system then announces that it has detected a power coming from the kid that transcends the laws of physics and logic. In response to this overpowered move, the dragon's auto mode is activated and a barrier is created to neutralize any attack. The beast has its own anti-hack software. Then another system notification pops up because apparently one wasn't enough, explaining that as a unique effect of entering the negative level zone, all of the MC's external injuries will be completely healed. And just like that, the kid makes a full recovery in the blink of an eye. He thinks that it was exactly as he remembered, and that his memories, at least this time, were good for something. The MC realizes that, just as the mysterious guy had said, he is now much stronger. Lies, watching the whole thing from the sidelines, is gobsmacked by the scene and thinks it's all super cool. The girl then starts to wonder if Shun isn't actually some kind of legendary warrior disguised as a newbie. Without wasting a second, the dragon, who did not enjoy this plot twist one bit, charges straight for the MC. The creature lets out a roar that nearly bursts everyone's eardrums. The giant monster prepares to attack the kid with all its might. But the MC, who's more on the ball now, understands that a brute force brawl against this big guy is going to get him nowhere. He then decides to use his new little toy, the arrow skill at Black Flame Magic. The dark flame hits the blue dragon square in the snout, which definitely wasn't expecting that trick. The creature begins to be consumed by the black flames. The attack seems to have a very strange effect on the dragon, making one of its eyes turn red like a hot coal. The dragon lunges with its claws at the MC, but the kid, with ninja-like reflexes, manages to dodge the attack by a hair. And just as the mysterious guy had warned, he starts having some strange memories, most of them really blurry, like a photo from an old cell phone. The MC then realizes that there's a lot more to this error skill than he could have ever imagined. He's sure there's another way to use this power, and he believes it's exactly the way he's thinking. The kid then activates the primordial secrets Ord style. Next, he unleashes the full power of the K at such a flame divinity. A gigantic explosion of dark energy completely engulfs the blue dragon. After sending the beast to the great beyond, a notification informs him that he gained a ton of experience. His level dropped to -3, and he even unlocked the second error skill. The MC wonders if he got another unique skill, but he still has no idea how it works. But one thing he's sure of, he's reached a whole new level of power by plummeting into the negative levels. The scene then changes and we see the group arriving in a city as the sun sets on the horizon. The MC walks calmly through the streets while Lies follows him closely. The kid, all awkward, asks Lies saying why she's following him, since technically she isn't an adventurer and would have no business at the guild. The girl answers with a little smile, saying the answer to that is pretty simple. And then she drops the bomb, "I'm here because Shun is here," which leaves the MC with a look of complete confusion. Lies explains that this is super important because after all, he's the one who saved her life. The kid sighs, thinking he's already asked her to stop with that whole spiel. Even so, he doesn't think he has a good reason to send the girl away. The story explains that after defeating the dragon, they managed to get out of the dungeon safe and sound. And of course, he didn't forget to grab the monster drops, but he's smart enough to know it's better to keep his mouth shut about defeating the void dragon. He thinks that this negative zone he reached, along with the mystery of his memories, are still things he doesn't quite get. For now, he decides to focus on the basics, selling the materials he got at the guild to make some cash. Lies notices the kid's worry look and tells him not to worry, which leaves the MC pretty surprised. The girl then offers to buy his materials from him. The kid is shocked, wondering if he heard her right or if his negative level affected his hearing. Meanwhile, he overhears some gossips commenting that a dragon appeared nearby and that the beast's level was immeasurable. The MC gets worried when he realizes the news has already spread and thinks he messed up by finishing the beast so openly. Just like Gia's area. He then turns to Lies and apologizes for what happened in the dungeon, all awkwardly. The girl says she completely understands the situation and assures him she won't say a word to anyone. The MC is left completely speechless by her response with a "what do you mean?" look on his face. He thinks that he can't believe she managed to read his mind in that. Despite her kind of ditzy appearance, she's actually way smarter than she looks. The kid thanks her for her help, saying that it really takes a weight off his shoulders. After their chat, the two of them finally arrive in front of the Adventurers Guild. The MC enters the place with Lies and says, "Excuse me," trying to get someone's attention. And as you'd expect, the guild's resident newsboy has immediately recognized the kid as the swift rookie and start making fun of him for still trying to be an adventurer with such a pathetic skill. Lies, who has no patience for gossip, says it's extremely rude to whisper like that and tells the MC to ignore them. He decides it's better not to mention his two error skills for now. He approaches the receptionist and asks to exchange the items he got for cash, and the woman instantly recognizes the blood wolf materials. Suddenly, the receptionist stops what she's doing and asks if Shunsen went to dungeon 37. The kid confirms a bit awkwardly and starts to break into a cold sweat, wondering if they found out about the void dragon. The woman explains that these items can be used to make powerful weapons and that normally she wouldn't offer so much even for dragon items, but a dangerous monster was spotted nearby Unjia's area still hasn't returned. She's relieved that Shunsen seems to be okay. The kid gives an awkward laugh and thanks her for her concern. Out of nowhere, a mysterious voice asks them to wait a moment, interrupting the negotiation mid-sentence. The MC and Lies turn around, startled, with no idea where that voice came from. The guys in the guild are confused, wondering what that voice they just heard was. Suddenly, a giant magic circle appears on the guild ceiling, scaring everyone there. The adventurers are completely shocked by the scene, not understanding what the heck is going on. And to complete the light show, a mysterious woman appears in a swirl of dark energy, floating in front of everyone like it's the most normal thing in the world. The MC watches the woman as the other adventurers fall to the floor, completely paralyzed. The story then explains that this woman is none other than the S-rank adventurer Elisha, also known as the Phantom. The receptionist asks Elisha and what brings her here. The blonde replies that she went to dungeon 37, where the monster was seen, but when she got there, nobody was left. The woman at the counter wonders if Elisha-sama finished things off before she even arrived. The blonde says yes and comments that there were a bunch of blood wolves scattered where the void dragon was. With a sharp gaze that could cut steel, Elisha stares down the MC, making it very clear that she knows something. She gets closer to Shun and asks if he remembers the question she asked before, wondering if he really has no clue what's going on. The kid gets all flustered by her getting so close and notices a very sweet scent coming from the blonde. Focus, Shun, focus, Shun, focus. One of the guys there calls out to Elisha-sama and, with all due respect, says that this guy has the level down skill. The gossip strikes again. He adds that the MC can barely handle a few little blood wolves. Elisha gives a mocking smile, completely ignoring the guy's comment as if he were an insignificant mosquito. Annoyed by the interruption, the blonde tells the guy to shut his mouth right now. The dude is thrown across the room by an invisible force and ends up on the floor. Elisha walks up to the fallen guy and says it's okay, that a small rumor will fade in a few years. She then turns to Shun-kun and asks if he still has no idea what she's talking about. The kid replies that he's sorry, but he really doesn't know. The blonde stares at the kid for a moment, as if trying to figure out if he's lying or just really dense. She then turns away, says she understands and that it was her mistake. The MC breathed a sigh of relief, thinking he's off the hook. But before he could relax, Elisha's foot stomps hard on the floor right in front of him. Out of nowhere, the blonde lunges at the kid, who wonders why she attacked him so suddenly. The woman is unpredictable. The MC barely has time to react to the woman's surprise attack. He's thrown backward by the blow, getting dragged across the guild floor like a rag. Suddenly, another guy appears in the middle of the smoke. The kid is confused. Elisha uses the distraction and gets ready to attack the MC from behind. Without a second thought, he activates the black flame magic to defend himself from the blow. The blonde is surprised by his reaction and comments that he has a very unusual skill. Even so, she charges forward with her sword, and the two end up clashing in the middle of the guild. Elisha warns him that it's useless against her illusions and manages to trap the kid with her energy. She then asks him why he's trying so hard to hide his true power. The MC gets all nervous and replies that it's because, well, believe it or not, he's an ally of justice. Elisha seems to like that answer and smiles in a very mysterious way, which is never a good sign. She then explains that she's hunting for the big boss behind these monster incidents and lays it on the line if he's on the bad guy's side. Just like that guy from before, she's going to have to finish him off real quick. She is definitely not messing around. The MC realizes it's the same skill as before and is floored by the woman's power. He thinks that with the whole crowd watching, the last thing he wanted was to become the center of attention. Bad day to be shy. But now, it seems he has no other choice but to resort to using his secondary skill. Elisha is surprised to see the kid getting ready to use another skill. Then, the MC activates his new skill with everything he's got, ready to counter the attack and show her who's boss. He thinks that he tried his best not to draw attention, but apparently it didn't work. He decides he has no choice but to fight back. He needs to show at least a little of what he's capable of. So without a second thought, the kid activates his secondary skill. Elisha watches the scene with a hint of surprise. She really wasn't expecting this reaction from the boy. The strike and claw skill is activated, and the MC charges at the blonde with his sword in hand. With a determined cry, he gets ready to show her that his patience has run out. Elisha immediately notices that his power has increased like crazy and wonders what the heck is going on. The clash between the two creates a massive wave of energy as the fight continues in the middle of the guild. The blonde is completely shocked by the kid's strength and wonders if he was holding back the whole time. She analyzes the MC's posture and thinks that it didn't look like he was hiding his true power. The other adventurers in the guild are slack-jawed. While the receptionist is about to have a meltdown from worry, Liz watches everything with a confident little smile. Elisha gives a mysterious smile, seeming to have finally put the pieces of the puzzle together about the MC's power. She finally recognizes him and says, "You're shun bright." The MC then reveals the name of his second error skill, the strike and claw. He thinks that he kind of figured, but it seems the skill seriously boosts his attack power. Instead, a screen materializes in front of him, working just like the old system. The screen shows that his attack power is now 210, which means it's 10 times stronger than the original. Elisha finds that very strange. She thinks that attack power shouldn't change unless a person levels up. With an enigmatic smile, the blonde makes a choosing gesture as if he's just discovered a very interesting secret. The MC is confused, not understanding what's going on. He wonders what the blonde is plotting. Out of nowhere, the scenery changes completely, and the kid finds himself in a totally different place. He's thrown into the middle of a burning village with explosions going off everywhere. The kid looks around and sees a giant monster attacking people. He doesn't understand a single thing about this situation. People run in desperation, screaming for help, while a guy points directly at the MC. The kid calls out for Elisha-san. Back in reality, the MC wonders what the blonde is trying to do by showing him this illusion. In the illusion, Elisha and other people are in danger, surrounded by fire and monsters. The real Elisha observes the kid's reaction and thinks that now she understands the situation. She realizes that he can analyze everything calmly, and that he's not just strong, but also has a good head on his shoulders. The blonde deduces that if he's used to this kind of chaotic scene, then he's probably not an informant for the enemy. With a smile, Elisha dispels her illusion, sheathing her dagger as if nothing happened. She apologizes to the MC and says that, apparently, he's not with the enemy. Phew. The kid awkwardly tries to explain himself, saying he didn't mean any harm. Elisha cuts him off and asks if he just wanted to avoid trouble. The MC thinks she figured it all out. I'm screwed. The blonde smiles and says that it was impressive nonetheless, commenting that not many people can handle her blade. The MC gets a bit flustered and thanks her for the compliment, not quite sure where to look. Elisha then dispels the magic that was holding the guy from before, which surprises the MC. She casts a healing spell on the guy on the floor, saying that she'd let him speak again. With a smile, the blonde apologizes for what happened, explaining that she gets a little carried away when she's excited. Elisha gives a mischievous grin, thinking that she just can't resist messing with the newbies. She can't help it. The guy she attacked earlier is completely terrified by her gaze, letting out a little yelp of fear. As the guys run off scared, Elisha turns to Shun-kun. She gets closer and says that, as an apology, his big sis here is gonna do something real nice for him. With a gentle smile, the blonde asks him to sit for a bit, promising she won't do anything bad. Famous last words. Suddenly, a crowd of guys shows up screaming for Elisha, begging her to choose one of them, even if it's just for 3 seconds. A giant line forms in front of the table with all the guys waiting for a chance. The scene shows the entire guild packed with men, all shouting Elisha's name. The woman is a celebrity. One of the guys throws himself on the floor, thanking her profusely, while the blonde says that maybe in about 10 years he'll have a shot. The MC asks Elisha what all this is about. She replies that it's apparently her from club and that they're really annoying. The blonde says she couldn't care less about guys like them as she distaffingly cleans her dagger. She then turns to Shun-kun and drops the bomb, "I want you to go out with me," which leaves the MC and Lies completely jaw-dropped. Everyone in the guild is stunned by the blonde's request, not believing what they just heard. One guy asks what she's saying all of a sudden, while Lies points and says that's practically a crime. Elisha laughs and apologizes for the confusion, saying it's not what they're thinking. She then reveals her true interest. She wants the MC to come work with her and the elite organization, Levantine. The MC and Lies are surprised by the proposal. The kid wonders what is going on for so much to happen in a single day. The story explains that Levantine is the most prestigious organization in the kingdom, made up of only the most badass S-rank adventurers. In recent years, error monsters have started to appear, just like the Void Dragon, whose level couldn't even be measured. The power of these error monsters is immense. It's said that just one of them can wipe entire cities and villages off the map. The story explains that the elite organization Levantine was formed precisely as a countermeasure against these OP monsters. The MC says this is crazy, his level has dropped and now he's an E-rank, basically the intern of adventurers. Elisha gets closer and asks with a smile if he wasn't the one who, in the end, finished off that Void Dragon. She explains that they're facing some very serious threats, so if she sees even the slightest hint of potential in someone, she wants to recruit them. The kid gets all flustered by the sudden proposal and says he doesn't even know what to say. The blonde laughs and tells him not to worry about her recruiting him in front of this whole crowd. The guys in the guild comment that, for an adventurer, joining Levantine is the greatest honor there is, and that a lot of people are going to be jealous of him. Elisha adds that he'll even be able to get even with all the people who looked down on him until now. The MC gets thoughtful while the other guys grumble. One of them can't believe that guy is being recruited by Levantine. Another adventurer comments that strong people get the recognition they deserve. The MC thinks it would be a lie to say he wasn't happy, but there's a catch. Suddenly, he remembers a scene from the past where he begged his father not to leave. The man apologizes to little Shun and says he won't ask for his forgiveness. His father then says that he'll definitely come back one day, and asks the boy to be a good kid until then. The classic promise that we know rarely pans out. Little Shun runs after him, yelling that he doesn't want to be alone. He says he wanted to become an adventurer with his father. As the man disappears in a bright light, the boy swears to himself that he will definitely find his dad. Back in the present, the MC seems to have made a decision. Elisha then calls out to him. The blonde approaches the kid and asks if they can go now, getting ready to take him with her. She says they're going to meet the organization's leader. The MC calls her name, all embarrassed. The kid turns and sincerely apologizes to her. He says he appreciates the offer, but there's a problem. With a determined look, the MC says he simply can't accept her invitation. The MC wonders what that is. He smells that sweet scent coming from Elisha again. A mysterious voice that asks him if he's really refusing her invitation. The blonde says that if he won't come willingly, she'll have to handle things her way, and grabs the MC from behind. While she uses all of her charms to persuade the boy, the blonde says she might have to take him by force. The MC feels confused, his head all dizzy. He wonders if this is some kind of skill. An illusion of Elisha appears in front of him, saying it feels good and asking him to be a good boy and obey. The kid tries to resist the skill, calling out Elisha's name, fighting against the spell. He finally manages to break free from the magic. The young man says he's honored by her invitation, but there's something he needs to do first. Elisha is surprised by the scene. She thinks that he managed to break free from her skill all by himself. That was unexpected. Lai steps in front of the MC and asks Elisha to stop, saying that Shun is clearly not enjoying this. The blonde then gives up on the idea. She sighs and says if it's not going to work, then fine. But Elisha quickly changes the subject. She says they're having trouble with the air monsters and asks if he has any idea why the Void Dragon appeared. The MC looks thoughtful and agrees that mystery still hasn't been solved. He remembers that he didn't sense the beast's presence at all. The Void Dragon just popped up out of nowhere, like it used a spawn command in a game. Elisha watches the kid as he thinks about the situation. She seems to be analyzing him very carefully. Then, the blonde drops the bomb. According to Levantine's investigations, the next error monster was predicted to appear right here. Elisha explains that they were just waiting for a slightly better lead to make a move, you know. After all, you can't just go kicking down doors without knowing who's on the other side. And that's when it finally clicks for Shun. He gets right away why she was so on edge. Elisha is dying to hunt these error monsters. While they're chatting, the MC and Lies see the figures leaving, and our boy instantly recognizes the culprits. It was Jia's area's old buddies. Shun thinks that, at least, those useless guys managed to make it back in one piece. Out of absolutely nowhere, a gigantic boom echoes, putting everyone on edge. The MC barely finishes his thought and is already wondering what all the commotion is because several stone monsters just burst out of the ground in the middle of the hall. One of the adventurers there yells that it's an enemy attack, already gearing up to face a giant golem. Brave or crazy? Then another bald warrior, who clearly doesn't back down from a fight, charges forward with his axe, ready to deal some damage to the stone critters. The giant golem charges forward. The huge monster causes total chaos in the hall, tossing adventurers around like they were mere rag dolls. One of the guys, full of swagger, tries to face the beast head-on, but ends up getting sent flying with a single blow. Suddenly, the golem seems confused about something. It's wondering what the heck just happened there. The stone beast then notices one of the guys there is moving in a very weird way, wondering what kind of dance that was. The guy in the cloak dodges the monster's attacks with insane speed. While watching the scene, Shun feels super frustrated that he can't do anything to help. Out of nowhere, the golem vanishes and reappears somewhere else. The MC is completely lost, wondering if the monsters had turned into Goku and weren't out teleporting. Elisha pulls out an appraisal stone and comments that she's never heard of monsters using a skill like that. The stone then reveals the beast's name, Leaping Golem. But what about its level? It just doesn't show up. Oh, that's never a good sign, is it? Lies is shocked that the monster's level isn't showing and warns that, by the looks of it, round 2 of the chaos has begun. Elisha confirms that the air monsters are invading and at this time, there are so many you can't even count them. With that, the blonde prepares to fight for real, and a powerful energy envelops her body. Out of nowhere, several copies of Elisha appear beside her, showing just how absurdly strong she really is. It's the shadow clone jutsu, Manhwa style. The MC is impressed by the scene, calling out Elisha's name, completely surprised. With her hand glowing with power, the blonde says, "I warned you." She adds that an atrocity like this happening right under her nose is something she will never forgive. Then Elisha charges straight for the monsters. She and her copies attack the golems all at once, basically a one-woman army. The blonde unleashes a series of powerful blows on the monsters as a huge explosion rocks the hall. The MC is shocked. He wonders how on earth it's possible for Elisha to materialize a skill that's supposed to be just an illusion. With a sinister chuckle, Elisha says she's going to make the monster bitterly regret the disrespect it showed her. As chaos unfolds in the hall, Shun watches the adventurers running for their lives in a panic. Shun then realizes that more monsters have appeared outside and thinks that not even Elisha, with all her power, can handle so many enemies at once. He then tells Lies he's joining the fight and asks her to help guide the others to a safe place. The MC thinks that he just got out of one fight and he's already in another, but he has to find a way to get through this situation no matter what. At that moment, one of the golems prepares to attack a helpless child, and the poor little kid screams for help, totally desperate. But in the blink of an eye, the MC appears in front of the boy, blocking the stone monster's attack. And the status screen, which loves to gossip, pops up showing that the principle of attack skill has been activated. With a battle cry, the MC charges at the golem, completely shrouded in a sinister dark energy. He yells for the little boy to run and get to safety, telling him he'll take care of that ugly beast. The boy says thanks and gets out of there, while the MC faces the monster head-on. Shun is now surrounded by 3 golems and braces himself for a fight that is definitely not going to be easy. The MC analyzes the situation and realizes his EP is draining fast. The black flame magic costs 20 points and the principle of attack costs 10. The status screen also warns that the power buff only lasts a few seconds, which means he has to take out the monsters with a single blast of his black flame magic. While coming up with a plan, Shun spots a giant clawed monster causing major destruction outside. That's when he notices something strange. Those golems can't keep up with Elisha, and he wonders why on earth they aren't using their teleportation skill. Suddenly, the MC has a brilliant idea and wonders if it could be those guys. The mystery is in the air. As if reading his mind, the monsters turn and charge towards Shun. Shun realizes this is his only chance. He thinks he has to withstand the onslaught somehow and runs toward his goal. The golems rush the MC with everything they've got, unleashing a high-speed flurry of punches. Shun tries to defend himself as best he can and thinks, this is bad. These things aren't just fast. Even while blocking the attacks, the MC notices his HP is still slowly ticking down. Meanwhile, the woman tries to hold back the little boy who wants to run back into the fight, telling him he can't go over there. The boy worries about the MC and thinks that at this rate, his big bro is going to end up kicking the bucket. The MC grits his teeth in pain and effort as he continues to defend against the beating he's taking from the monsters. With a cry of pain, he's thrown backward, but Shun thinks that the fight isn't over yet. Elisha sees the whole thing, looking worried, and shouts Shun's name. As he prepares to strike back, the MC thinks that there's only one way to finish them off. And that's when he reveals the secret. The golem's special ability isn't teleportation at all. Shun explains that they can only move at super high speeds and in a straight line. In other words, once they're cornered, they end up positioned just like this. And, like a chess master, the 3 golems are perfectly lined up in front of him. With the enemies in his sights, the MC activates his error skill, the dreaded black flame magic. With everything set, the MC fires his black flame magic, a devastatingly powerful attack that shoots straight towards toward the 3 lined-up golems. The little boy and the woman with him watch the scene totally floored, not expecting such an absurd display of power. Elisha, who is watching everything, is also shocked. The dark attack hits the monsters head-on, creating a gigantic explosion that swallows everything in its path. After the dust settles, we see the MC standing there, staring at the result of his attack. Some adventurers who were watching from a distance are left speechless, wondering what kind of OP magic that was. Elisha thinks that it's not just the magic that's impressive, there's something more to this story. She realizes that Shun patiently waited for the perfect moment just to ensure he could take out all the golems at once. The blonde then confirms her suspicions and thinks, this kid is definitely no ordinary person. Out of nowhere, a system screen pops up in front of the MC with that classic notification sound. The message says he gained experience, but for a change, his level dropped again, now to -4. At least his max CP increased to 90. Right after, another window appears because the system is feeling generous today. The message informs him he's acquired a 3rd error skill, Avenger's Curse. Whoa, that name already sounds promising, huh? The MC is a bit confused by the skill's name and wonders what the heck that could be. The story explains that, thanks to the progress in removing the curse, the error skill's data can now be viewed in detail. The description says that this Avenger's Curse costs 30 EP, can be activated upon taking a hit, and returns the same amount of damage to the attacker. It's the classic return to sender. Shun is surprised by this new development and wonders how the curse removal managed to progress so much all of a sudden. He then remembers a conversation and questions if this was what that person mysteriously told him. On top of all this confusion, the MC thinks that he's also gained yet another unknown skill. While he's lost in thought, the little boy he saved comes up from behind and calls out to him. With a huge smile on his face, the boy extends his hand and thanks the MC for saving his life. The MC is a bit taken aback by the boy's sincere thanks, seeming genuinely touched by the gesture. With a slightly awkward smile, he replies that it was nothing, and that what's important is that he managed to save the boy in time. Night falls over the city, and after all that chaos, a festive mood starts to take over the place. Out of nowhere, an old man with a monocle appears, very emotional, shouting Lord Shun with tears in his eyes. How sweet. The MC asks the mayor to calm down, but the old man is so happy he starts giving hugs to everyone he sees. The mayor then says it's impossible to stay calm. After all, Shun just saved his precious grandson. Now in a tavern, the townspeople offer the MC a drink as a way to thank him for his heroic act. Elisha approaches him and says he's being way too modest, clearly enjoying the whole situation. Holding a bottle of wine, she adds that there's no doubt he saved a life, and that he should hold his head high. Lies. Already a bit tipsy, enthusiastically agrees with Elisha, saying that Lord Shun is truly more wonderful than anyone. The girl asks for another drink, while the MC thinks they're going a little overboard with the celebration. From a distance, two jealous adventurers watch the scene. One of them grumbles about that damn low-level guy. The other wonders how he managed to get surrounded by so many girls, finding the whole situation very suspicious and saying the M's he must have used some kind of dirty trick. But then, the little boy who he saved shows up out of nowhere and tells the two of them to shut up and stop making fun of Big Bro Shun. The boy throws it in their faces, asking if they're not ashamed of acting that way, even as adults. One of the guys awkwardly tries to explain, saying the boy might not understand the situation yet, but the kid cuts him off right away, saying it's not cool at all to talk bad about others behind their backs. To top it off, he even asks if they can't understand something so simple and if they're really the adults in the story, leaving the two grown men speechless. Sitting at the table, the MC just watches the little squabble from a distance. Now he's perfectly happy because, at least for now, peace has finally decided to show up. In the middle of the party, Elisha takes a sip of her drink, eyeing the MC with a very thoughtful look. What could she want? She then decides to strike up a conversation and asks if Shun remembers the chat they had earlier. The blonde confirms that she does remember, and says she didn't feel anything strange, but out of nowhere an error monster just popped out of the ground. The MC agrees immediately, saying he thinks it was the same thing that happened with the Void Dragon that beast also appeared out of thin air. At that, he remembers that it wasn't Gia's area who summoned the creature that time, and his mind already starts to consider another possibility. The MC then turns to Elisha and asks why on earth do error monsters keep showing up in the specific region. With a little smile, the blonde praises his perception and explains that its simple error monsters have a habit of appearing in areas where they've appeared before. A map appears to illustrate her explanation, showing where the beasts have already caused trouble, and she adds that they're still investigating why. The MC becomes thoughtful with the new information, wondering what it all means. But what if it's not just a coincidence? What if this whole mess was set up on purpose by someone? Our detective starts putting the pieces of the puzzle together in his head. He then calls Elisha over and asks her to come with him for a second with a look on his face like he's figured out the secret. The MC says he might have missed something very important. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, we see those two jealous guys analyzing what's left of the golems. One of them comments that the plan didn't work in that. As they expected, it seems the beast can only use half of its original strength. The other understands the situation, concluding that it's the exact same thing everything that happened with that void dragon. The first guy sighs and says it was exactly what he thought. Maybe the monster needs some time to sync up with this world. His partner agrees, saying that's probably what's happening. Suddenly, a bright light flashes, and the MC appears out of nowhere in front of them. Before the two could even blink, the MC lunges with an attack, catching both adventurers. The MC is thrown back by the impact of his own attack, but the guy is tough and manages to stay on his feet. With Elisha right behind him, he faces the two and says, "So you two really were up to something, you little shemers." One of the guys plays dumb, commenting that he thought they had a protective barrier there. Elisha eyes the pair suspiciously and wonders if those two weren't the same guys who were at the guild earlier. The MC confirms her suspicion, saying that yes, they're Gia's area's assistants. The MC explains that he managed to connect the dots after their conversation. The appearance of the monsters isn't a natural phenomenon, and it's very likely that someone orchestrated this whole mess. The story explains that in both the case of the void dragon and the golems, the very same people were present on site for both incidents. Suspicious, isn't it? Hiding behind Gia's area, who had the summoning skill. They were the real culprits making the era monsters appear. And by putting those pieces together, the MC finally found the two of them. Sherlock Holmes would be proud of that deduction. One of the guys even compliments the MC's intelligence, admitting they left tracks on purpose, but that he's surprised they actually made it this far. Elisha is intrigued by the confession and wonders why on earth they would leave clues on purpose. With a smirk full of mockery, the trickster says it's a bit mean. After all, they're also mourning the loss of their dear friend Gia's area. He adds that she could have been a little nicer, right as Elisha charges at him full speed. The blonde delivers a blow so powerful it sends the guy flying. The MC is shocked by the woman's speed. With a sadistic smile, Elisha says my bad, but she just doesn't like people who talk too much. Message received. She glares at the adventurer with a deathly look and warns that she's going to take care of that filthy mouth of his first. A shadowy hand holds a dagger to the guy's forehead as Elisha says she thinks his mouth needs to be shut for good. Elisha repeats that she doesn't like noisy people and that she's going to take care of that filthy mouth of his once and for all. The adventurer starts laughing, saying it was pretty cruel of her to attack out of the blue like that. He then reveals his face and says that, thanks to her, his favorite mask is toast. The blonde is shocked to see he doesn't have a single scratch on him. She simply can't believe what she's seeing. With a smile, the guy says that mask and everything else, and asks if the MC is a boy who uses some weird magic. The blonde guy gun says it's an honor, as he never thought he'd meet an S-rank adventurer. With a strange mark on his face, he continues, saying he's surprised the MC figured out their identities. The guy lets it slip that such a sharp intuition is worthy of the son of Lord Faro S, which leaves the MC completely paralyzed with shock. The MC wonders how on earth the guy knows his father's name, not understanding a single thing. The blonde guy, whose name is Carla, laughs and asks if it isn't obvious, but his partner cuts him off, saying that's enough. His companion warns him that if he keeps going, he'll end up saying too much, and Carla apologizes, laughing at the situation. A dark energy surrounds the M, so you can tell he's about to explode with rage. The MC approaches the two and demands they tell him absolutely everything they know. With his eyes glowing, he stares down the pair's expression makes it clear that playtime is over. A memory flashes in the MC's mind him as a child, begging his father not to go and not to become a sacrifice. His father holds him in his arms and says he overheard his conversation with his mother. He apologizes to his son and says he won't ask for forgiveness, but that in order to stop the evil god behind the monsters, there was no other way. Little Shun breaks down crying, saying he just wanted to become an adventurer alongside his father. In another memory, the MC's father trains relentlessly, while some villagers gossip behind his back. They say it's impossible to get rid of all the world's monsters and that the guy's training is nothing more than a bad joke. Another memory from the past appears. The MC remembers being bullied by other kids. One of them stomps on Little Shun's hand with all his might, showing just how cruel he could be. The boy who is bullying him yells that, in the end, the MC's father was just a huge weakling. He scoffs, asking if that guy was really the world's strongest swordsman or humanity's hope, and concludes that there's no way. Little Shen yells that it's all a lie, refusing to believe his father had kicked the bucket. The bully then lands a solid punch on the kid, sending him flying. Sitting on the ground, the aggressor announces that he's decided from that day on, the MC would be his personal plaything. Back in the present, this flood of painful memories causes a dark energy to explode around the MC. The MC glares at the two with a serious look. He's clearly furious about the whole situation. The assistant says it's useless, that they have no reason to tell him anything and that the MC should just give up and stay quiet in his corner. Without a second thought, the MC lunges forward and grabs the guy by the collar. It looks like his patience has gone caput. The assistant is completely shocked by the MC's reaction. He wasn't expecting this attitude. The MC then unleashes a blast of energy, sending the assistant flying with a single blow. The force of the attack is so absurd that the guy is violently thrown against the city's debris. Carla watches the scene, impressed, and comments that it was incredible. Elisha gets ready to jump into the fight, but the MC stops her, asking her not to interfere. He warns that he's going to finish them both off himself, no matter what. The blonde understands the situation right away she realizes that his father is the real reason behind all that determination. With a mocking smile, Carla says the MC is scary and launches an attack in his direction. The blow hits the MC head on, but it seems it barely tickled his dark energy. Out of nowhere, Carla summons several stone golems, which surround the MC from all sides. The MC glares at the monsters with a serious look. The blonde then gives the order to the golems, telling them all to attack the MC at once. But before they could even take a step, the MC unleashes an attack so powerful it destroys all the golems in the blink of an eye. Elisha is dumbfounded by the scene. Carla also seems surprised. He hadn't expected the MC to be capable of that. The MC comments that they were finished off pretty quickly. Carla's partner tells him to stop messing around, mentioning a message from that person and warning that Lord Far West might get really ticked off with them. The MC is confused by the mention of his father's name, and an aura of fury begins to envelop him. He then asks why they won't stop mentioning his father's name. The kid is really irritated. Carla laughs and apologizes, telling the MC to just forget what he just heard. Without wasting a second, the MC charges at the blonde, striking with his sword. A gigantic explosion erupts. The MC's attack simply swallows everything in its path. In the middle of the smoke, we see the MC with a determined look. An intense gleam appears in his eyes. The guy is completely focused on the combat. After the dust settles, the MC realizes the guy he attacked was just a clone the real Carla watches from a distance, quite surprised. The MC understands that the situation is getting dangerous and that he needs to be very careful with his next moves. Atop a building, the two villains comment that they got a scare, as they never expected a mere human could make mincemeat of their clones. Carla's partner complains that he warned him not to provoke the MC, seeming quite annoyed with the blonde's attitude. Back on the ground, the MC faces the two with his sword in hand, while Carla laughs and tells him not to make that scary face. Carla, being a total smartass, says that if the MC wants more details, he should just ask the lady right there. With a cynical smirk, he plays dumb about Elisha's attack and adds a taunt, saying that the MC will understand the situation, whether he likes it or not. Elisha gets visibly annoyed by the taunt, but the blondie's partner Dan cuts him off and says that's enough for today. Dan then comments that their mission here is over anyway, and Carla, not wanting to lose face, adds that he's sure they'll meet again. And as they step into a teleportation portal, they say their goodbyes with all that arrogance, promising they'll play again next time. But suddenly, a cold voice comes from the darkness, and the MC asks calmly, "Are you trying to run away?" Carla looks back with a face like he's seen a ghost. Apparently, he didn't expect the weak kid to be so fast, and without even giving them time to blink, Shun charges forward with his sword in hand, completely surrounded by his sinister energy. With a single swift strike, he hits them both at the same time. Dan is in shock and can hardly believe it. He never expected the MC to be this strong. With his blade pressed against the guy's neck, Shun repeats his warning, "I told you, you're mine now." Just then, a barrage of dark strikes completely overwhelms Dan, who doesn't stand a chance of defending himself. Shun then finishes the attack with full force. The MC drives the point home, saying he already told them that now they belong to him. Carla seems genuinely surprised by the kid's actions. With a battle cry, Shun charges forward to finish Dan off for good. He unleashes a powerful blow that goes straight for the enemy, with no mercy whatsoever. But Dan, at the very last second, manages to create a barrier, narrowly blocking the attack. The MC can't believe his eyes, wondering how his attack was stopped by a simple magic wall. Dan, acting all high and mighty, says he likes the kid's spirit, but that he's still very, very weak. Unfazed, Shun says the fun isn't over yet and gets ready to attack again. Carla starts to laugh, saying the kid got way too cocky, and he was even thinking about letting him go. The MC is surprised, not understanding a thing that's happening around him. That's when he decides to go all out and uses a new skill, Black Flame Magic. The attack manifests as a buzz of black lightning bolt, which hits Carla head on. A gigantic explosion erupts, sending the enemies flying. The blondie analyzes the magic, commenting that he's never heard of black lightning. Shun himself looks at his hand and wonders if that was the same as his black flame magic. Carla, even after taking the hit, explains that this is a fire magic that defies logic, and whereas he already suspected Shun was using the same kind of power from the other side of the world as them. The kid gets upset and asks if this power is the same as theirs. He's more lost than a tourist without a map. Dan adds that they're surprised too, because even though the MC is that person's son, he awakened this level of power on his own. Then, the guy makes an indecent proposal to the kid. He wants to know if Shun would consider joining them. Visibly annoyed, Shun tells them to stop messing around. He yells that he would never join them and that, in fact, they're the ones who should surrender. The MC yells, demanding they tell him absolutely everything they know. The assistant, now called Dan, says the negotiation has failed. Carla starts laughing and says it's a shame. The blondie then lays it out. If the kid plans to oppose them no matter what, he'll have no choice but to finish him off right here. Without a moment's hesitation, Shun charges forward with his sword in hand. But to Shun's total shock, Carla stops the attack with just one hand, as if it were nothing. The MC simply can't can't process how that was possible. He's stunned by the enemy's absurd strength. The blondie takes the opening to counterattack, landing a direct hit on the kid. But Carla gets confused and wonders what that was, questioning if Shun is really that person's son. The kid recovers at an incredible speed and immediately lunges forward again, showing he's not giving up. With a swift strike, he attacks Carla with everything he's got, but the blondie simply vanishes and reappears behind him. That's when it clicks for Shun. The guy's ability is object teleportation. Elisha, seeing things get complicated, decides to help and says she's joining the fight, but Shun, proud as can be, refuses her help and says it's fine, stating he'll finish them both off himself. A gigantic dark energy envelops the kid. He's unleashing his full power. He calls for both of them to come at him at once, promising that this time he'll end the fight. Carla is genuinely impressed by the MC's power, finding the whole thing incredible. But he also thinks it's a bit reckless of the kid to try and fight both of them alone. Dan, the more sensible one, warns Carla not to underestimate Shun. He reminds him that the kid is still that person's son and they should show respect by attacking with full force. The blondie agrees, finding the idea interesting, and the duo prepares for a combined attack. The two of them charge at the MC together. The MC defends himself with his sword as best he can while the villainous duo attacks relentlessly. The kid realizes the situation has gotten serious and that he desperately needs to find an opening to counterattack. Out of nowhere, he finds himself surrounded by a mountain of swords. Carla warns that with that mountain of swords and his ability, things are about to get ugly. With a simple snap of his fingers, he activates his power, preparing the final blow against the kid. The swords begin to fall from the sky like a rain of sharp blades heading straight for Shun. The blondie announces that the trick is complete and now comes a rain that's impossible to dodge. The blades descend at full speed, giving the kid no chance to escape the attack. Desperate, Elisha screams Shun's name, completely powerless to help. The MC is hit head-on by the attacks, and it's not a pretty scene with him getting absolutely wrecked. He cries out in pain as he's pushed backward. Even though he's all injured, the MC keeps defending himself with his sword, trying to tough out the storm of blows. Dan is completely shocked by the scene. He never expected the kid to hold out. The kid keeps getting hit over and over again. The situation looks critical for him. Carla is also speechless, not understanding how the MC is still standing after all that. Suddenly, an error message pops up out of thin air. The Avengers Curse skill has been activated. The ultimate comeback. In that same instant, Dan feels a violent impact on his back, getting messed up a bit too. The story explains that this little beauty of a curse activates when you take a hit, and it simply returns the same amount of damage to the attacker. It's the classic return to sender buddy. Carla is also hit out of nowhere and gets confused, not understanding where the heck that attack came from. Even all busted up, the MC stands firm. He managed to turn the tables in a completely unexpected way. Dan gets ticked off and says he can't believe the MC was able to use the Avengers Curse. Even though he's all hurt, Carla starts to laugh, realizing the kid provoked them on purpose just to activate this skill. Meanwhile, the MC is already preparing a final attack, using a secret sword technique from his style. He then unleashes the move with the coolest name of all Sajai, the Fire God, a technique that sounds devastating just by its name. The attack hits both villains head-on, giving them no chance to defend against all that power. The duo is sent flying by the force of the impact, while Elisha watches everything from a distance. The blonde prepares to intervene, seeming to have some kind of plan in mind. But before she even has to move a muscle, the two are already on the ground, properly tied up and defeated. Dan, even in defeat, starts to laugh and says it was magnificent, clearly impressed by the kid's power. Elisha comments that it's to be expected from Lord Far West's son, but that it's still a shame. Dan continues his speech, saying that instead of fading away in a place like this, there's a much better path for him. The MC just watches the two on the ground, with a look on his face like he's tired of all the talk. With a serious look, he says that all of them are really getting on his nerves. After the intense battle, the MC stands under the moonlight, with his enemies defeated on the ground. The exhaustion from the fight is visible on the kid. He looks completely wiped out after everything that went down. Suddenly, Elisha appears behind him, right as the MC looks like he's about to pass out. The blonde rushes to catch the kid before he hits the ground, yelling and asking what happened. She asks if he's okay, and the MC, all flustered, apologizes for the whole situation. In her thoughts, Elisha notes that his movements were very strange and that the power Shun used was completely abnormal. The MC then asks Elisha what they're going to do with the two guys on the ground. With a smile, the girl tells him not to worry, because she's already taken care of everything. The blonde explains that she had already called for guild members, preparing in case something like this happened. The MC gets a bit annoyed, grumbling that they were a step too slow. She then hands the kid a recover potion to help with his injuries. Elisha reveals that it's the big sister's secret superior recover potion, a super special item. Then, with a straight face, she asks if he can rink it himself or if he'd prefer a little help. Mouth to mouth, our poor Shun turns redder than a tomato and stammers that yes, he can rink it himself. Without a second thought, to escape the embarrassment, the kid chugs the vial in one go, drinking it all down. In that exact moment, a healing energy envelops the MC's body, leaving him good as new, like he just rolled off the lot. Shun thanks her for the expensive potion, commenting that it helped a lot, but the blonde just replies that it's fine. After all, she's got the cash to cover it. Elisha then gets serious and calls out to Shun, saying that after all this chaos, they need to have a private talk. The poor guy is confused, as she explains that things will get super awkward if they just ignore what happened. And then, she drops the real reason for their chat, revealing she has something to tell him about his dad. The story then drops a bombshell on us. The MC's dad is the one behind the creation of the enro monsters. The MC freaks out and yells at her to stop messing around, wondering what kind of crazy talk Elisha is spouting. The blonde says she understands how he feels and knows it's a pretty terrible way to break the news, but Levantine had already reached that conclusion 5 years ago. She continues her explanation, saying that the reason she was suspicious of him at first was precisely because of this family connection. Shun still refuses to believe it and comments that those guys they fought had already hinted that his dad was involved in the whole mess. The story explains that from that moment on, the investigation into Far West is going to get much more intense. The kid is silent for a moment, trying to process the ton of information that was just dropped on him. Elisha looks at him and admits it's shocking, but that there's not much they can do about it. Then the blonde starts to tell the story of Far West Bright, an adventurer so skilled that everyone knew his name. She says that, even among the S ranks, the guy was on an absurdly high level of strong. The girl recalls that not even her entire team together could handle the man. The dude was a machine. But from the day he fought the evil lord, something in him did a complete 180. Elisha apologizes to Shun, saying she felt she had to tell him at least that much, since he's the guy's son. The kid starts to put the pieces together and says that now he understands how things got to this point. It finally clicks for him the invitation to join Levantine wasn't just because he defeated the Void Dragon, but also to keep an eye on him. He then asks if he's right, and Elisha's silence is the confirmation he didn't want. With a sigh, she comments that he can't hide things, just like his father. She tells him not to get too down and assures him that they are also doing their best for the good of the country. The blonde states that if he doesn't want to join the guild, she won't push it. The MC remembers what the villain said, that he should ask her why she attacked him to understand the whole story. His mind made up, the kid says he doesn't even need to think about it and asks to join Levantine right away. Elisha is completely shocked by the kid's sudden decision. She really wasn't expecting that. Shun explains that if she's after his father, then their goals are aligned. He reveals that he's continued to be an adventurer all this time precisely so he could one day find his father. The blonde is speechless, just staring at the kid as he lays out his determination. And speaking of surprises, out of nowhere, the girl Lies just busts down the door. The newcomer runs towards the MC, desperately asking if he's planning on going somewhere. She yells that he can't just abandon her and run away, he just asks her to calm down, noticing she smells like booze. Lies then begs Elisha, asking to be taken along wherever they're going. The blonde is confused and replies that anyone can join, as long as they pass Levantine's recruitment test, of course. Lies gets all excited about the idea of a test and immediately says that with her power, she'll pass for sure. The MC wonders what power that is and where all that confidence is coming from. The girl's self-esteem is on point. Elisha sighs, thinking that just when she thought Lies was a normal girl, she pulls a stunt like this. Lies continues to be all hyped up, proving she's exactly the type of person they imagined. The MC gives in and says he gets it, but in return, they'll only leave tomorrow. Lies, of course, complains, wanting to go right now. The kid explains that you can't bring a drunk person along. Lies gets ticked off, saying that even Shun is saying weird things now. With tears in her eyes, she shouts that she doesn't care what other people say. She continues her emotional speech, stating that it's precisely because Shun is the way he is that she wants to follow him. And then comes the declaration. Lies says she's fallen in love with him and that this time she's going to get what she wants. With all the determination in the world, she yells that she's going to make Shun's happiness a reality, a real-life drama playing out. The MC gets all flustered and read, barely able to say Lies' name. Poor guy, he can't handle the situation. Elisha just watches the scene with a smirk, enjoying the show. She comments that it's good because the MC has a cute cheerleader nearby to give him some encouragement. The blonde then asks Shun if his determination has changed after all this commotion. With a smile, the kid confirms that it has. He's going to join Levantine and unravel the mystery behind his father. Elisha understands his decision and seems to agree with the plan. She says that they don't want Far West to be an enemy either, and that's why they need to work hard together. In his thoughts, the MC asks his father to wait, as he is determined to find out the truth. With a focused gaze, the kid swears to himself that he will definitely reach his father's back. The scene cuts to now we're in the city of Windsor, where the Levantine Guild headquarters is located. The MC and the girls walk through the bustling city streets, just taking in the sights. The people around seem pretty lively, creating a festive atmosphere all over the place. Lies comments that there are a lot of people here and that it all feels like a big festival. Elisha explains that they didn't know, but the Levantine test is open to the public and has become a tourist attraction. Lies says she's getting nervous with so many people, but the MC replies that there's nothing nothing they can do about it. They just have to face it. The story explains that the test consists of one-on-one fights with examiners, and people come from all over just to watch the battles. Now the kid understands the reason for all the excitement and why the street is so crowded. Elisha tells him to relax, because the first examiner is just an A rank, so for someone who survived her attacks, it'll be a piece of cake. The MC is relieved to think that this means there are no other monsters like Elisha in the test, which gives Lies an idea. Lies gets excited and says that everything will be fine then, but Elisha finds it a bit strange that the girl goes around calling people monsters. The blonde changes the subject and tells them to head to the reception first, pointing out that the headquarters is right there. Shun and Lies look in the direction Elisha is pointing, curious to see the so-called headquarters. They are met with a gigantic and imposing building, the true home of Levantine. As soon as they enter the place, the receptionists notice them, and one of them is left with her jaw on the floor. The women get super excited and welcome Elisha, calling her Big Sis. One of them mentions she heard that Elisha captured an enemy executive and praises what she did. The MC wonders who these people are, until the receptionists finally notice there are others with her. One of the girls gets annoyed, accusing the MC of being some shady guy trying to take advantage of Elisha. The blonde cuts her off and says she's wrong, explaining that the kid helped capture the executive and that now they're going to take the test. The receptionists, who clearly didn't take a liking to Shun, start whispering that he's a nobody, just riding on Elisha's coattails. Lies gets ticked off and yells that they're being rude, but the MC tells her to stop making a scene. The kid says it's okay, as he's used to this kind of treatment, but the receptionist won't stop talking. The two women warn him not to think he'll pass the test just because he has Big Sis's help. Elisha sighs and tells them not to make her repeat herself, making it clear that she was the one who asked Shun to come. The blonde glares at the two with a deathly stare, warning them they know very well what will happen if they keep it up. Completely terrified by the threat, the two receptionists start shaking in their boots. Elisha apologizes to the MC for the little show and announces that Lies will also be taking the test. The two women agree immediately. With their tails between their legs, the receptionists say they'll guide the two of them and ask them to follow. The group is then led to another room where the recruitment test will finally begin. A woman with purple hair greets them, saying she was waiting for the challengers. She explains that she's already heard most of the story from Elisha and that they can ask whatever they want. The MC thanks her for her kindness. The woman then turns to Lies first and hands her a booklet with instructions. As the girl hands the paper to the MC, he feels a very strange sensation in the air. The kid wonders what that is, feeling a very weird vibe coming from that paper. He realizes there's something very wrong with the booklet the woman is handing him. Suddenly, the woman breaks into a sinister smile, confirming all of the MC's suspicions. The kid panics, realizing in that instant that it's a trap. He yells out a warning that it's a trap, but poor Lies has no idea what's going on. Out of nowhere, the receptionist attacks Lies from behind, leaving the MC completely in shock. Furious with the situation, the MC asks what she thinks she's doing, already preparing to settle this with his sword. The purple-haired woman says it was an accident and tells the kid to drop his weapon first. With Lies as a hostage, the villain calls Shun Bright by his full name, revealing she knows exactly who he is. The kid is completely lost in questions if she isn't one of Levantine's employees. The enemy laughs and says he still doesn't get the situation, that he wasn't careful enough. She explains that her transformation skill can change her appearance to anyone, including her vocal cords and even her fingerprints. With that trick up her sleeve, it was easy for her to infiltrate the guild, pretending to be just another employee. But the MC already connects the dots, wondering if she isn't one of that Carla person's accomplices. And what do you know? She confirms it. The woman says this saves a lot of time, since she heard Carla and her crew have already kicked the bucket. She reveals that she already knows he took care of the two henchmen and, with a straight face, demands to know where the MC sent them. With the calmness of someone who just meditated for 3 hours, Shun asks what happens if he says he doesn't know anything, just to see her reaction. The enemy lets out that classic movie villain laugh and asks if he really thinks he has that choice, which already has poor Lies biting her nails with anxiety. And to make it crystal clear that she's not playing around, the tip of her blade touches Lies, and the psycho warns him that he better cooperate quietly. But Lies, who is no damsel in distress, yells for Shun not to listen to the crazy lady, saying she'd rather bite the dust than see him surrender. This puts the MC in a tough spot apparently. There's not much choice but to play her game. So, the kid says he gets the message, but his hand gripping his sword tighter gives away that there's a plan B in the works. He then agrees to obey, and the woman, already feeling victorious, considers his decision wise and tells him to drop the weapon. Then, Shun starts to slowly lower his sword. Then he gives the enemy a look that practically screams, "You fell for my trap, sucker," showing that the game isn't over yet. Lies, who's already familiar with Shun's strategies, immediately notices his change in attitude and gets ready for the chaos that's about to erupt. Suddenly, a dark dark energy envelops Lies and the woman, and our little princess is frozen for a moment, feeling the power that just emerged. And that's when Lies gets it. It all clicks, and she immediately figures out what Shun's real plan was. She realizes the MC's goal was never to surrender, he was just getting ready for a counterattack. With a shout, Lies grabs the villain's hand. The purple-haired woman is impressed by Lies' action. She definitely didn't expect such boldness from the hostage. With strength she pulled from who knows where, the girl manages to break free from the villain and throws her away. The woman hits the floor, completely in disbelief at Lies' sudden strength. At that moment, a mysterious figure appears and comments that the plan went well, revealing that it was all just a test. Shun appears behind the woman and explains that he used the striking claw skill on Lies, admitting it was a very risky bet. The woman gets angry and asks if he set this whole thing up, not believing she fell for such a simple trap. Still in character, the MC throws a fierce look and tells her to get ready for what's coming, warning her that he won't go easy. He then focuses his power into a single blow and launches an absurd attack in her direction. The enemy is swallowed by the attack, dust flies everywhere, and all signs point to her being taken out. Shun takes a look around and doesn't sense anyone else nearby, but he suspects there might be more people hiding in the wings. So, not wanting to slip up, the kid yells out, announcing there's an intruder in the area. He adds that the enemy is one of Carla's partners and asks for help as fast as possible. Out of nowhere, a voice from the great beyond praises the MC's actions, commenting that the execution was perfect. Then the voice announces that Shun, Bright, and Lies have passed the preliminary test. Test? What test, my friend? The same mysterious voice praises their performance, reinforcing that it was all perfect and well done. Shun and Lies look like they have no idea what's going on, and the voice patiently repeats that they passed the preliminary test. Still clueless, Shun wonders what just happened, and the purple-haired woman, who is not taken out at all, confirms that it was all part of the Levantine test. With a smile on her face, she apologizes for scaring them, explaining that, apparently, it was all just a very well-acted play. Shun lets out a breath he didn't even know he was holding and admits the situation was super tense. Curious, he asks why they made a test so specific for him. The woman then explains that's just how they roll around here, since they can't risk accepting a spy on the team. She continues, saying they needed to know if he would switch sides and join the enemy organization, and also see if he had a cool head to handle a mess like that. And then it all clicks for the MC, so it was all a 2-in-1 test to check his loyalty and his skill. She asks him not to be upset, and Shun, now calmer, replies that he now understands why Levantine is considered an elite organization. Afterwards, she turns to Lies and praises the girl, saying she was very clever and did a great job in the test too. Lies, being all cute, flashes a peace sign and says she's already used to this kind of mess for some top secret reasons. Shun then asks if the real test starts now, since that was just the appetizer. The woman confirms with a serious look, warning that things are about to get really ugly from now on, so they better be ready. Then the scene cuts to a gigantic arena, packed with people waiting for the event to start. A bright light illuminates the whole place. The Levantine Guild's recruitment test is, finally, about to begin for real. The stands are buzzing with a crowd eager to see the fireworks. Lies gets super excited with the crowd's energy, shocked by how many people showed up. Shun is also surprised by the audience. He expected a few witnesses, but this was on the level of a world championship final. An announcer with a rodeo announcer's voice starts speaking into the microphone, saying he's about to announce the next challenger, a rookie who arrived with a VIP recommendation letter. The announcer then shouts the MC's name for the whole arena to hear our boy look serious, mentally preparing for the battle. Shun says goodbye to Lies, telling her it's his turn. Being the best cheerleader, she responds enthusiastically and wishes him good luck. A huge gate begins to open very slowly in the arena, building suspense to reveal our MC's first opponent. And on the other side, a blonde guy with an imposing stance appears, clearly a badass veteran. The opponent stares at Shun with a serious gaze, making our boy a little nervous about the situation. Despite the nerves, Shun thinks the whole situation is incredible and knows he needs to get through this to move forward. As he walks toward the center of the arena, the announcer starts giving the details about the examiner. Then a man in a white suit and brown hair appears who will apparently be in charge of evaluating Shun's skills. Suddenly, Shun hears a strange noise and wonders what the heck is going on. Then, out of nowhere, the crowd in the stands gets all riled up, looking with stunned faces at a specific spot. And without warning, a massive explosion happens right in the middle of the arena, kicking up a cloud of dust that makes it impossible to see anything. The examiner in the white suit just looks blankly, with no clue what just happened. From the middle of the smoke, a mysterious figure emerges, commenting that he arrived just in time. When the dust settles, a young man with red hair appears, smiling. The examiner recognizes the guy instantly and shouts his name, shocked. The redhead, all cocky, asks the examiner what he's doing there, since the test was his responsibility. The guy explains that he heard some rumors about a promising rookie and, because of that, came flying all the way from the Kakare Desert just to take a look. The people in the stands are in shock at the revelation that Kakare Desert is about to weak carriage right away. The redhead then turns to Shun and asks if his name is Shun Bright, and the examiner hastily confirms on the spot. With a grin that says he loves a good fight, the guy proposes they both fight as Shun wins. He's in the organization. The MC is at a loss for words with this sudden proposal he definitely wasn't expecting to have to throw down right off the bat. The redhead gives a little smile and warns him that he has no choice if Shun refuses. He fails on the spot. Shun finds the whole situation ridiculous, and the announcer comments that this is unprecedented, a simultaneous test against two opponents. Up in the stands, lies in the crowd are tense, while the announcer narrates the drama, wondering how the rookie will get out of this mess. The examiner in the white suit chimes in, saying this is crazy, and reveals that this asked guy is an S-rank adventurer. In other words, the guy is the best of the best. He continues his speech saying that even with a recommendation from the mighty Elisha, this fight is too much for a rookie. Est, ignoring the drama, smiles and asks Shun directly what he thinks about it. But with a determined look that shows no fear of danger, the MC accepts the challenge and tells them both to come at him at the same time. This kid's confidence is out of this world. He even says the situation is perfect, since he's in a hurry to uncover the dirt on his dad as soon as possible. Ast is surprised, but breaks into a huge grin. He likes Shun's attitude and says that was exactly the kind of courage he wanted to see. The redhead then lays out the rules of the match. Whoever gets knocked out, gives up, or gets thrown out of the arena loses. Shun agrees without even blinking. The examiner in the white suit tries to be the voice of reason, yelling that Shun is seriously underestimating the danger. But then another suit-wearing guy appears and tells the examiner to shut up, telling him not to interfere since the challenger himself accepted the deal. To reinforce the point, Ass gives the examiner a look that could freeze hell over, making it clear he doesn't want to be interrupted again. The poor examiner nearly has a heart attack, trembling from head to toe at the redhead's silent threat. Ass then unleashes his power all at once, and an absurd aura of fire and lightning begins to swirl around his body. The pressure from the energy is so surreal, it pushes the people in the stands back. The crowd panics at the level of the guy's power. Shun feels the pressure too and thinks he's heard of this type of power somewhere before. The story explains that it's normal for each person to have only one skill. Having multiple is like a miracle that happens once in every 10,000 people. And Ass Nesria is exactly that guy, a genius known as the Infinite Mage, who has mastered fire, wind, lightning, and water magic. The guy is practically the Avatar, but with cooler hair. The redhead smiles, confirming his suspicions, and comments that Shun has traces of some guy named Faroes's power. Shun is curious about the comment but replies that he's looking forward to seeing what this battle has in store. The redhead then holds out his hand and challenges Shun, telling Faroes's son to show him what he's got. Shun's jaw drops at the scene. Ast is mixing for elements and using otherworldly techniques right from the start. With a roar, the redhead launches his destructive attack and yells for Shun to take the hit with everything he has. But Shun isn't intimidated and immediately prepares his counterattack, activating one of his arrow skills, the powerful black flame magic. The two powers collide in a colossal explosion, and the entire arena shakes as if it's an earthquake. The people in the stands duck to protect themselves from the blinding light as dust and wind take over the place. Even the announcer has to grab onto something to keep from being thrown. And in the middle of the smoke, the MC emerges, having blocked the blow with his sword. Now the two are staring each other down up close, ready for the next round. Impressed by Shun's skill, Ass compliments the MC for straight up canceling his magic and, of course, immediately wants to know what kind of crazy power that was. But the MC, playing dumb, just replies with a well, who knows what happened there, right? Ass then laughs and comments that his father was just the same, always using powers nobody understood, and it was impossible to beat the guy. With that, the two back away and get ready for another round, as the exchange of blows continues at full steam in the arena. The MC then realizes that Ass seems to know something uncommon, that the redhead knows his father too. And Ass confirms it with a straight face, asking if Shun is still chasing after old Faroes, showing he knows a lot more than he lets on. The redhead, seeing the opportunity, says he's made a decision. He has a proposal for Shun. With a serious look, he makes a promise if Shun manages to win, he'll spill some beans. Ass says he'll reveal what he knows about old Faroes, and that was the trigger. The MC charges at him with everything he's got. The redhead is completely surprised by the kid's speed. He definitely wasn't expecting such an explosive reaction. In the blink of an eye, the MC simply zips past Ass, already preparing a quick and precise attack. Shun's speed is so impressive that he passes the redhead like a bolt of lightning. Ass is left completely stunned, probably wondering what kind of fast travel just happened there. With a direct hit, Shun lands a solid blow on the redhead, but Ass just says that's enough, and that was exactly what he wanted to know. The MC gets ticked off and demands an answer, yelling for Ass to tell him everything he knows right now. But the redhead just comments on Shun's incredible speed, seeming more excited about the hit than worried. Seeing the MC's determination, Ass says there's no other way and that, in honor of his fighting spirit, he'll give him a little help. With a smile, the redhead simply drops the bomb. He reveals that Shun's father is none other than the founder of Levantine. WHOA, what a plot twist. The MC is completely in shock, unable to process the information he just heard. The look on his face was priceless. Even with the revelation, the fight between between the two continues intensely, with them exchanging fast and powerful blows across the arena. Shun thinks that his father was the founder of Levantine and that he and EVR, under any circumstances, said a word about it. Ast laughs and says it seems the old man didn't tell his son anything, but promises that if the MC beats him, he'll spill more gossip. At that moment, the examiner in the white suit steps in and offers to help, saying that a 2-on-1 test is a bit unfair. The redhead just gives the examiner a side eye, with a look that says, "Who invited you into this conversation, buddy?" The examiner awkwardly tries to explain, saying that at first he thought the idea was interesting, but now he's changed his mind. With no patience for small talk, Ast knocks out the examiner with a single blow, making it clear that, in the end, he wants to fight Shun alone. With the examiner taking a nap on the floor, the coast is clear. The arena now belongs to just the two fighters. A very strange energy appears in the redhead's hand, and the MC is left wondering what the heck that means. Ast then announces that from now on, the fight will be won on when the test rules have changed again. He explains that if the MC defeats him alone, he passes. A simple, direct, and probably suicidal rule. Shun faces a challenge seriously, and the redhead warns him not to think it's gotten easier, because in return, he'll also be fighting with everything he's got. The redhead warns that playtime is over, and his entire body starts to burst into flames, literally. The MC faces the situation seriously, probably thinking, "I think I'm in trouble." Ast is clearly having a blast. Up in the stands, the announcer is about to have a heart attack. The intensity of the fight is shocking everyone. The battle resumes with the two charging at each other at a speed that's almost impossible to follow. With a shout, the MC lunges at the redhead, preparing a devastatingly powerful attack with a sword. The two clash in another absurd blow, and sparks fly everywhere from the impact of their blades. The redhead laughs and compliments Shun's swordsmanship, saying it's what you'd expect from that old man's son. But he points out that although he's good with a sword, the MC is a complete amateur when it comes to magic. Without wasting time, Ast uses an electric skill, surrounding Shun with lightning from all sides. The MC feels a shock coursing through his entire body, unable to react to the sudden attack. He just got hit with a high-voltage taser. The redhead explains that the essence of swordsmanship is moving forward, and if your feet are immobilized, it's over. There's nothing you can do. He then lands a direct hit on the MC, showing in practice what happens when a fighter's foundation is destroyed. Shun tries to back away, but gets caught again. Ast isn't giving him a single second of rest. With the force of the attack, the MC is thrown back, landing right on the edge of the arena. The redhead charges forward once more, determined not to let Shun escape under any circumstances. The MC feels his legs go numb. He realizes he can't move. But it's in this tight spot that a new skill activates, and black flame magic appears in Shun's hand. Ast gives a slight smirk, saying it was just as he thought. This guy knows everything, it's impressive. He comments that the magic the MC can use is very special, as Shun is enveloped in a sinister dark energy. The redhead then taunts him, asking if that's all the MC has, while preparing a wind spell in his hand. With a confident smile, Ast activates his skill, and an absurd gale starts to form around him. The MC is surprised by the new magic, as he definitely wasn't expecting this turn of events. The wind starts to push the black flames away, and Shun feels the overwhelming pressure of the attack. Then, Ast explains that deflecting fire with a strong wind is the absolute basics for any mage. The force of the wind is so great that the MC starts to scream, fighting with all his might to maintain control of his skill. The announcer is jaw-dropped by the scene, saying that, as expected from the adventurer Ast, the challenger has no chance of countering. Even the most anticipated rookie is at a complete disadvantage. The situation looks completely hopeless for Shun. The redhead lets out a sigh, seeming a bit disappointed, as if he's thinking, "Darn, I thought I was going to have a little more fun." He then wonders if this is all the MC can do, indicating that the fight seems to be coming to an end. Ast prepares his final blow, saying it's still a bit too early for Shun to join Levantine. Suddenly, the MC's eyes snap open with an expression of pure determination. The redhead is completely shocked by Shun's reaction, wondering what the heck is going on. In an instant, the MC unleashes all of his power at once, and the dark energy explodes around him in a terrifying way. Ast has no idea what he's seeing, and Shun reveals the name of his technique, the secret sword of origin. With a powerful cry, he launches his devastating attack, and the skill's name is Kagetsajai. The redhead is impressed by the MC's power. This guy is much stronger than he imagined. The energy rushes towards Ast, who tries to defend himself as best he can with his lightning. Shun uses his technique called Shunjiraku, and the attack completely envelops the redhead in a storm of power. Ast realizes he's being swallowed by the flames, but even in this situation, the madman keeps a smile on his face. The MC's blow hits the redhead head-on, and the entire arena trembles from the impact of the explosion. Ast is thrown backward by the force of the attack. Up in the stands, the announcer's jaw is on the floor, unable to even narrate what just happened. Liz is also surprised, but with a huge smile on her face. She always knew Shun was capable of turning the tables. The MC stands in the middle of the arena, and the announcer finally yells that it was an unbelievable comeback and that the challenger has overcome the adventurer Ast. The redhead gets up a little beat up and groaning in pain, but he doesn't seem annoyed at all. Out of nowhere, Ash starts laughing uncontrollably, saying that Shun is simply unbelievable. He explains that the MC absorbed the flames that were pushed back and used them to increase his attack power, which requires an extraordinary amount of control. The redhead realizes that Shun evolved during the battle, getting stronger in the middle of the fight. Shun doesn't say a word and just stares at his opponent, still surrounded by his dark and intimidating energy. Ash comments that just using those flames should drain anyone's energy, not understanding how the MC is still standing. But even so, Shun has no intention of giving up. His determination is out of this world. The redhead says he's happy and mentions that Shun is still a bit rough around the edges, but that maybe one day he'll be able to surpass that old man. The MC is confused by Ash's comment, wondering what the heck the redhead meant by that. With a smile, Ash simply raises his hand and says he gives up, admitting defeat in front of everyone. The announcer and the examiner, who's already awake, are in shock. Nobody, absolutely nobody, expected that declaration. Shun is also clueless, wondering why Ash surrendered just like that out of the blue. The arena falls silent for a moment. The MC has won the test in a way no one could have ever imagined. The announcer's voice echoes through the arena, declaring that a major upset has just occurred. The narrator then announces the grand winner of the match, Shun Bright. In the stands, Liz is celebrating like crazy, yelling that he did it and that it was to be expected. #1 fan for sure. Next to her, the other woman looks relieved, saying that Shun made her really nervous. The MC then goes up to the redhead and asks why, even though Ash said he would fight seriously, Shun knows he still had a lot of strength left. Ash is surprised that Shun noticed, saying he's not bad at all and that the answer is quite simple. He then reveals that if he had fought with everything he had, this whole area would have been blown to bits a long time ago. The MC is completely shocked by the revelation. He had no idea the redhead's power was that immense. The redhead continues explaining that a test to defeat a real S rank would be ridiculous, and that he's a reasonable person too. But he tells Shun not to worry, because with this victory, his recruitment is more than confirmed. Ash then shakes the MC's hand and congratulates him, saying that now Shun is officially a member of 11 Team. The redhead seems to have really liked what he saw. He's got a little smirk that doesn't lie. So, he takes the opportunity to extend a very peculiar invitation to the MC, asking Shun to drop by his private room after the dust settles. Hold on, folks, it's not what you're thinking. Ash assures him that, as promised, he'll spill the beans and tell him everything about Shun's father. And of course, the MC accepts right away. In the blink of an eye, the scene cuts and the two are already there in the redhead's room, ready to start the the conversation. Without wasting any time, the MC gets straight to the point and asks Ash to spill everything he knows. Shun wants to know every single detail about his father. He wants the redhead to reveal absolutely everything, no holds barred. Ash agrees and starts telling a story. He reveals that 10 years ago, Shun's father sent the crown prince of the kingdom to his maker. The story then jumps 12 years into the past, and we see Ash screaming in pain while fighting a gigantic monster. You can tell the redhead is in a real bind, grumbling that the mission to deal with that monster was way too much for him to handle. All injured, he clutches his arm in pain, showing that he had already given his all in the fight. Just then, a memory flashes in his mind. He recalls a little girl named Daria, who called him Big Brother. Back in the fight, the monster lets out a roar and prepares for another attack. The creature is completely out of control. Ash faces the beast with a look of pure determination, realizing that this thing wasn't going to turn back into a good boy anytime soon. Suddenly, as if by magic, a mysterious man appears out of nowhere and attacks the monster with a swift and precise blow. Reinforcements have arrived. The redhead just watches, jaw dropped, not believing the help that just fell from the sky. The newcomer turns to Ash and asks if the young man is in one piece. Right after, the man tosses an item to the redhead and tells him to use it to patch himself up. Ash catches the vial and is shocked to see it was a superior recover potion, an item that costs an arm and a leg. The man explains that the place looks like an enemy research base, so it was to be expected that the young man would get into some serious trouble. As the redhead asks what he meant by that, the man simply lights some kind of fuse. To Ash's total surprise, the guy throws the fire onto the monster's body. The redhead is clueless, thinking, what's the big idea? He yells at the man, asking what he's doing, since without the monster's head, no one would recognize his victory. The man apologizes and explains that this chimera is a so-called bearer monster. The creature begins to regenerate in the middle of the fire, and the man reveals that its ability is regeneration, able to come back to life if not completely disintegrated. Ash is stunned by the revelation, wondering if that beast was immortal or something. The man explains that it's a creature that came from behind the world and that, if left loose, it will attack everyone and destroy several countries. With that said, he creates a barrier with several energy crosses, trapping the monster in place. The man prepares to use a sinister skill, and a dark energy begins to emanate from his body. With a very serious face, he concentrates, ready to end the threat once and for all. And then the mysterious man unleashes a devastating attack, sending the energy straight for the monster. Ash is left with his jaw on the floor, trying to process what had just happened there. He's amazed by the guy's incredible swordsmanship and realizes that his magic was also completely different from his own fire magic. Desperate not to miss the opportunity, Ast yells for the man to wait. He couldn't just let the guy leave like that. The redhead then begs to be accepted as his disciple. He wants to learn that swordsmanship and that magic no matter what. But the man simply shuts him down, saying that people from this dimension can't master his power. Still, Ast insists and begs a little more. The scene returns to the present, with Ast explaining to the MC that, after that day, he gathered elite adventurers and created Levantine. The goal was to protect the country and the world from error monsters, and the MC finally understands what the organization is all about. Shun gives a little smile and comments that wanting to save the world was very much like his dad. Ast agrees, saying the old man had dreams so big that everyone made fun of him. But he says that, strangely, many people were drawn to Far West's way, who even drank with the king and was admired by all. The MC is moved by the story, saying he can perfectly imagine that scene. But the doubt comes back with full force, and he asks how his father was capable of doing that to the crown prince. Ast explains that he only learned about it from official country sources and that not even the members of Levantine know the details. The only thing he can confirm is that a letter with a simple "I'm going" was left at the organization's headquarters. He says that these are the facts he knows and that there's nothing more to get from it. The MC thanks him for the information, thinking it's the same old story. His father never explained anything properly, carried everything on his own shoulders, and disappeared without a word, which made his mother very sad. The redhead puts a hand on Shun's shoulder, saying that's why he also doesn't want to believe his former master became an enemy. Then, Ast makes a proposal to the MC. He invites him to go after Far West together. The redhead completes the idea, saying they should go as partners and members of Levantine. The MC agrees to the idea on the spot, and Ast immediately puts his arm around him in a gesture of friendship. Changing the subject, the redhead asks what Shun's relationship with Lies is, leaving the MC a bit confused by the sudden question. Shun explains that she just tagged along on his journey and that actually, he doesn't even know her that well. Ast becomes thoughtful with the answer, while the MC scratches his head awkwardly. The scene cuts to Lies in the middle of a fight, and someone comments that she's doing very well, since before she could barely handle a few blood wolves. The MC watches from a distance and is intrigued, wondering what the heck is going on with her. In a dark and damp place, someone starts to laugh sinisterly, the sound echoing through the area. We see a chained blonde man complaining that his captors are doing very unpleasant things like giving him a few pats and leaving him with almost no sleep or food. Even all beaten up, the blonde man faces his torturers and says they are the personification of this country's ugliness. One of the guards gets ticked off and tells him to shut up, plunging at him with a blow. The prisoner is thrown to the ground, but continues to laugh. With a macabre smile, he says it's about time because something big is about to happen. The blonde man then starts talking to some Far West sand, and his body is enveloped in a bizarre energy, putting the guards on high alert. He declares that he will follow this person forever, with a look of pure fan-like devotion. Suddenly, a gigantic explosion occurs, destroying everything around the prisoner. Ast looks back and comments on Lies, while the MC remains there, clueless about the situation. Meanwhile, Lies is in the middle of a battle and seems to be in a very complicated situation. The MC is shocked by her performance against an A rank, until someone asks what he's so surprised about. Shun remembers that the first time he saw her, she couldn't even scratch a blood wolf, but now it was a different story. Ast gives a little smile and says that if that's the case, Lies might be quite the deceiver, which leaves the MC even more confused. The girl's opponent thinks that her skill is at least A rank, and can't believe she would have trouble with C rank monsters. And with the final blow, Lies wins the fight. Narrator announces that her attack landed and she is the grand winner. The redhead celebrates enthusiastically, yelling that she finally did it, while the MC just keeps watching. Ast becomes thoughtful and remembers that, on top of everything, she only registered her first name, starting to suspect there's something fishy going on. Suddenly, the two are startled by something. A loud noise catches their attention. As they look into the distance, they see a huge explosion in the city, and someone wonders what that was. In the midst of the chaos, people start running desperately, and the MC and the redhead watch the whole mess unfold. The two continue to look in the direction of the explosion, clearly worried about what's happening. The fire spreads through the city, and Shun seems to recognize the location of the blaze. Ast says that place might be the underground prison, and the MC asks what an underground prison is. The story explains that it's where they lock up the crazies with powers, and we see the prisoners inside. The redhead confirms, explaining that it's supposed to be an impenetrable prison that holds only the most dangerous criminals. The MC wonders what's going on and already suspects that Carla and her crew have pulled something again. Without a second thought, Ast gets ready to go there, launching himself with a large amount of energy. As he flies at high speed, the redhead says they need to go, thinking this looks like an interesting battle. The MC is impressed, wondering if Ast can fly using wind magic. He realizes he'll have to leave Lies behind, but understands there's not much he can do in this situation. The redhead continues to fly at high speed, easily maintaining the lead. Shun worries, thinking that at this rate, he'll end up being left behind. That's when he remembers something and decides to use his principle of attack. He stomps hard on the ground, preparing to test out the new skill. An energy envelops Shun as he propels himself forward with all his might. He realizes that, just as he imagined, the attack power of his kicks is also increased a ton. The MC then applies this new strength and starts sleeping across the city's rooftops like a superhero. Ass laughs and says that Shun is very interesting, seeming impressed by the rookie's creativity. The redhead then tells the MC to keep following him, and the two advance together towards the chaos. Shun is floored by Ass power, thinking that even after the fight, the redhead still has energy to spare. They finally reach the top of a building, from where they can see the prison in flames and hear the desperate screams. Suddenly, the two look up, startled. Something in the sky catches their attention. A message about a dragon's level increase appears, and the story explains that not even the Astral Stone can measure the level of these error monsters. Ast, all excited, yells and jumps towards the monsters. The guy looks like he's at an amusement park, not in a deadly battle. He then comments that there's a lot of prey around and, without a second thought, charges at the creatures without any fear. With that, the redhead lets out a completely maniacal laugh, while Shun watches the scene, totally in shock, probably thinking, what did I get myself into? Suddenly, a piece of one of the monsters plummets from the sky. The creature seems to have been taken out with absurdities. Shun just stares at it, not knowing how to react to this whole mess that's happening. Even the redhead is on high alert, seeming not to believe what he's seeing. He grumbles, wondering what that's all about, since the monsters keep regenerating non-stop. But with a smile on his face, Ast finds that very convenient. He's more than ready for another round of fun. He then faces one of the dragons and tells them to fight more and more. Out of nowhere, a female voice calls him Ast-chan, complaining that it's unfair for him to have all the fun by himself. And behold, a blonde woman appears out of nowhere and immediately attacks one of the monsters. The redhead shouts her name, Yuri-SLA. Yuri-SLA turns to him with a confident little smile, looking ready to join the fight. She says this place is a great playground and tells the redhead not to interfere. But Ast, of course, retorts that he can't let that happen near Levanteen's headquarters. The blonde then prepares to attack with full force, surrounded by a super powerful energy. She even comments that their opponents seem to be underestimating them quite a bit. Little do they know the danger they're in. The MC is impressed and comments that this is to be expected from Yuri-SLA's sand, while Ast seems a tad annoyed that his spotlight was stolen. Seeing her strength, Shun fills with determination and tells himself that he can't fall behind either. With that, the MC charges forward with a quick and precise attack, slicing one of the monsters with his sword. He realizes that, as he already imagined, the enemy's ability is to split itself. Shun then notices he only has 30 EP left, meaning his battery is almost dead. But even so, he decides to risk it all and shouts the name of his skill Gatsuchai. As laughs and says that wasn't bad at all, complimenting Shun for enchanting the black flames so as not to burn the entire city. The MC is floored by the redhead, thinking that even after using all that magic, he didn't damage anything in the city. But the main problem remains no matter what they do, it seems there's still an endless supply of monsters. Suddenly, a notification appears on the screen. Experience gain. His level dropped to -5, and his max CP increased to 120. And it doesn't stop there. Another notification informs him that the 4th AR skill, Time Acceleration, has been acquired. The MC is surprised, wondering if his level dropped again at a time like this. The story explains that the skill costs 10 EP and interferes with space-time to super accelerate any target. Now, however, he needs to try everything. Shun then decides to activate the 4th AR skill, the so-called Time Acceleration. With the skill active, time around him seems to freeze as monsters attack and people run in desperation. The MC moves quickly through the civilians, moving at an impressive speed. With a leap, he gets close to one of the dragons, ready to send the creature packing. Our boy delivers a direct hit, and the energy from the attack cuts through the monster with absurd ease. He successfully finishes the attack, destroying the creature in the blink of an eye. Yuri-SLA is impressed by the move, and Ast laughs, saying that Shun was still hiding a lot of power. The redhead then tells them to advance at once and attack the source of all this mess, and the MC agrees immediately. They observe that the monsters all seem to be coming from the center of the chaos. Yuri-SLA says the two of them should be fine and tells them to go attack the source while she holds the line here, which leaves the MC quite surprised. The blonde continues, asking if he doesn't want to uncover the mystery about his father, and tells him not to hold back and go get information from the bad guys. Shun is silent for a moment, seeming to process her words of encouragement. He then agrees and thanks her. With that, the MC and Das run towards their objective. Yuri-SLA stays behind to face the horde of monsters, preparing for a battle that promises to be intense. Meanwhile, the MC and the redhead arrive at a rocky place and seem to have found the source of the problem. They come across a mysterious man with his back to them, and wonder who the guy is and if he's the reason behind this whole incident. The green-haired guy turns around and grumbles, complaining that it's a pain and that they've already arrived. The green-haired guy recognizes that the redhead is Faroes's former disciple and that even his son is here, which makes him very annoyed. The MC asks, with that cocky attitude of his, if he's one of Carla's companions, but the green-haired guy tells him not to compare him to those weaklings. He then reveals that, in exchange for their lives, Carla and Dan became valuable information. The MC and Das are shocked by the revelation. They really weren't expecting that. With a smile on his face, the green-haired guy says that, thanks to that, he got what he wanted. He then declares that the troublesome work is almost over. Apparently, the green-haired guy is an executive class enemy, and he's already completely surrounded by flames. The redhead says he has a lot of things to ask him and that, for that reason, he's just going to immobilize the guy. Just that, nice and easy. With his sword in hand, Ash prepares to attack, determined to capture the opponent. The green-haired guy laughs and asks if he's really going to capture him, finding the redhead quite bold. Suddenly, a large explosion of fire erupts around the green-haired guy. He seems to be unleashing his power. In the midst of the flames, he says that it's fine. This will be some entertainment until he arrives in this dimension. The guy then introduces himself as Van Gale, the calamitous wind, and tells the humans to entertain him well. Without wasting time, Ash charges forward, screaming, and delivers a powerful blow with his sword. The attack is easily stopped by Van Gale's hand, which emanates an intense energy. The redhead is surprised by how easily his blow was defended. A wave of energy hits Ash head-on, sending him flying with the force of the impact. The redhead manages to stickle Annie on some rocks, quickly recovering from the blow. Van Gale comments that, for a human, Ash is quite used to fighting. He continues, saying that the redhead is an S-rank adventurer and that, surprisingly, he's not bad at all. Ast, out of nowhere, gets all excited and asks if Van Gale is a mage, seeming super hyped about the idea. Suddenly, he challenges Van Gale to a one-on-one fight, leaving the opponent very confused by the mood swing. The MC tries to intervene and asks Ash to wait, saying they should fight together. The redhead apologizes and says that seeing the other guy's magic made his skin crawl. The MC gets ticked off and asks, then why did you bring me along? Van Gale finds the redhead interesting, commenting that there aren't many who can stay calm in front of him. Ash lets out a little laugh and asks not to be praised like that, seeming to be having a blast with the situation. The redhead says this makes him happy, and the two face off with an intense energy surrounding them. Van Gale observes the redhead's attack, completely calm and confident. Meanwhile, Ash smiles with excitement, ready to go all out against his opponent. The battle between the two begins with a clash of powers. Ash attacks, but Van Gale defends without any effort. Van Gale laughs and says that wasn't bad at all, commenting that so there was someone like the redhead in this dimension. With a smile on his face, Ash gets ready for the next round, not seeming intimidated in the least. The green-haired guy summons a sword and tells the redhead to consider it an honor, because for the first time in decades, he's going to fight a little seriously. Van Gale declares that playtime is over, and the energy around him intensifies to an absurd degree. Ash remains focused on the fight, ready to face the opponent's true power. And, in the blink of an eye, the redhead is caught off guard by a powerful attack that catches him completely by surprise. Fallen on the ground, Ash wonders what that is and questions if it's the same ability as that Carla person. Van Gale tells him not to compare his ability to such a pathetic power. He then states that he is the wind itself and that attacks won't hit him, which leaves the redhead completely confused. Suddenly, Ash is surrounded by several attacks. The redhead realizes the danger of the situation and understands that things have gotten very dangerous. Van Gale comments that the redhead dodges attacks well. Ash concentrates and unleashes his own power, acknowledging that mastering the wind like that is impressive. Out of nowhere, the redhead is shocked by something, feeling a presence right behind him. Van Gale appears behind the redhead in an instant and attacks him with incredible speed. The green-haired guy then says that in front of him, the redhead is just a slow turtle. The MC watches the situation, worried about what's happening. Ash defends himself as best he can, but he is at a clear disadvantage in the fight. The redhead wonders if that guy really isn't an ordinary mage, impressed by the opponent's power. With a smile on his face, Van Gale confirms that's exactly right, he is not a mage. He explains that what he controls is the calamitous wind, a power that doesn't exist in this dimension and that comes from behind the world. Ash repeats the opponent's words, seeming to process this information. Suddenly, the redhead is hit by a surprise attack and falls to his knees before Van Gale. The green-haired guy glares at his opponent with a threatening look. Ash is surrounded by the enemy's energy, completely immobilized with nowhere to run. Seeing that depressing scene, Shun yells his friend's name and runs desperately to help the redhead. But there's no time. With a single blow, Ash is sent flying, hitting the ground so hard he even creates a crater. Even all busted up, the stubborn redhead tries to get up from the rubble, showing he's not going to throw in the towel that easily. Van Gale approaches with that air of superiority and says that's all Ash was, a guy at that level. Then he prepares to deliver the final blow and tells the redhead to get ready to meet his maker. At that exact moment, the MC shows up to play the hero, yelling that there's no way he's letting that happen. Shun manages to block the blow with his sword, and the energy from both attacks clashes with full force. He quickly realizes he won't be able to hold this off for long, so the MC needs to think of something and fast. With little choice, he decides to go all out and activates his ever-skilled at black flame magic. Van Gale, who is no fool, recognizes the technique and comments, well, a black flame user, just like Far OS. The green-haired guy comments that the MC can also also use a power from outside the box, but in his opinion, it's a weakness so pathetic it's sleep-inducing. With a smirk plastered on his face, Vangale asks if the kid is done yet because he's getting bored as the MC struggles to advance. Sword in hand, the MC decides to use a new technique, concentrating all his energy for one last desperate attack. Then the kid leaps and uses his most stylish skill, the secret sword of origin, Kei Gatsachai. The green-haired guy just yawns, recognizing that this is another one of the Pharaoh-esque guy's techniques. With a quick move, Vangale stops the attack with a single hand, finding the kid's power completely inferior and boring. He then counterattacks with absurd force, sending the MC flying with a powerful blow. The green-haired guy grumbles that he thought the kid had some courage, but in the end, he's also just at that level. Lying on the ground, the MC thinks about the opponent's incredible strength, realizing he's completely different from Crawl and the other henchmen. Vangale gets ready to end the fight for good, saying that at this rate, he'll send the kid to the grave in the blink of an eye. The green-haired guy's hand gets closer, ready to end this whole charade once and for all. The villain even asks if the MC wants to continue, as he seems to be losing what little patience he has. But to no one's surprise, the kid gets up with renewed determination, saying he's decided he's going to find his father no matter what. He states that it doesn't matter how strong the opponent is, because that means absolutely nothing to him. The green-haired guy gets ticked off he didn't like the kid's attitude one bit. Suddenly, a mysterious voice tells Shun to keep going and assures him that he won't let the kid bite the dust. The MC is surprised by the situation, wondering what the heck is going on. The story explains that this is the principle of time stopping, like a plus version of the time acceleration the kid himself uses. The MC looks ahead, completely shocked, trying to understand who the person is that just appeared out of nowhere. Suddenly, time freezes completely, and the MC wonders who the figure that appeared before him is. A mysterious figure emerges in a burst of intense light, and the kid recognizes it's someone from that ancient era. The white-haired guy greets Shun and says it's been a while, commenting that it seems the MC has been leveling down non-stop since then. The guy explains that, thanks to that, the curse is weakened, and now he can interfere in this dimension a bit. Shun understands the situation and comments that, as expected, they don't have much time to catch up. The white-haired guy, with no patience for formalities, flicks the kid on the forehead and says he doesn't like smart anicaps. He then tells Shun to remember one important thing: the key to defeating the enemy lies within his own memories. A memory flashes in the MC's mind, where he sees some people thanking someone for saving them. In this memory, the kid has a different appearance and says it was nothing, that he's just glad everyone is safe. Back in the present, the MC is in shock, wondering what that memory he just saw was. The white-haired guy tells Shun to keep lowering his level, promising that when the curse is lifted, he will return to how he was before. The scene cuts to Vangale, who is still in the middle of the fight, about to attack his opponent. The green-haired guy gets confused, wondering what the strange feeling he's experiencing is. He even questions if this is time manipulation by someone, but thinks that would be impossible. Suddenly, Vangale notices something unexpected. He sees something unbelievable right in front of him. The MC now has a completely different appearance with white hair and a much more powerful aura. It's the Super Saiyan transformation. The kid looks at his own hand, seeming to analyze his new form. He says he always wondered what exactly this suddenly changing appearance was. Now, the MC finally understands everything and concludes that this must be his form from his past life. A powerful energy envelops the kid, who prepares to use all of his newfound power. Vangale is completely confused by the situation and asks what absurd power the MC's using. With a determined look, the kid says he finally understood what those memory fragments that appeared before were. The green-haired guy is shocked. In the blink of an eye, the MC charges at Vangale, moving with impressive speed. He explains that his past life was apparently called someone who mastered swordsmanship to its peak. The story explains that the kid was a sword saint, a warrior of immense power. Vangale is hit head-on by the MC's attack, unable to react in time to defend himself. The kid continues to explain that the memory fragments he's seen so far were all related to that era. The green-haired guy recovers from the blow and even admits it wasn't bad, since the MC managed to actually hurt him. He explains that what the MC is using is time acceleration, in that by interfering with space-time, he can slice through space itself, but this also causes damage to himself. The kid listens in silence, lets out a little laugh, and asks how long that tough guy act is going to last. Vangale gets ticked off by the taunt, unleashes an absurd amount of energy, and charges at the MC. The kid is caught off guard by the intensity of the attack and has to defend himself with everything he has. The MC's eye glows with an intense light. He's focused on finding an opening in the enemy's attack. The kid is hit by several blows in succession. Vangale seems to be enjoying the fight, smiling as he continues to attack relentlessly. Even at a disadvantage, the MC manages to defend against the blows and gets ready to counterattack. The kid realizes the situation is dire and that, at this rate, the Sword Saint's power will be too great weight a burden for his current body. The green-haired guy charges forward with a smile on his face, ready to end the fight. Their swords clash with tremendous force, creating a gigantic shockwave. The MC strains to hold back the attack and says he's going to end this once and for all. Van Gale mockingly asks, "Don't tell me you're going to settle this with a single blow?" With the sword glowing, the MC prepares himself, determined to finish the fight right there. The kid then activates his technique, the second form of the secret sword. He unleashes a powerful attack called Space-Time Rupture, and the energy rushes towards Van Gale. Even while being hit, the green-haired guy laughs, seeming to have enjoyed the blow. The MC is surprised by the reaction, and Van Gale compliments him, saying, "Not bad, Shunbray." The green-haired guy comments that he wonders how many years it's been since he's seen his own red stuff. The MC says he's already sick of this. Van Gale just lets out a little chuckle, clearly plotting something. Suddenly, a dark energy explodes around him, with a power so intense it cracks the ground. The MC is shocked by the situation, wondering where all that power is coming from. The green-haired guy says it's a shame, but his objective here has already been achieved, getting rid of Carla and the others, and for good measure, destroying the city. A giant creature made of fire appears in the sky, and the MC is left speechless before it. The creature flies towards the city, looking ready to cause mass destruction. Van Gale says that bringing the MC here was enough and that now it's time for the real fun to begin. The kid realizes the opponent was summoning the thing while fighting and understands the situation has become complicated. The city begins to be bombarded by fireballs. The green-haired guy confirms that's right and that a city like this will turn into a sea of fire in the blink of an eye. He continues, saying that the people there have become a nuisance, especially for his next plan. Van Gale declares that everyone there will turn to ashes together, leaving the MC and Das completely desperate. To make matters worse, the MC's hair starts to return to normal, and he's shocked by the sudden change. Suddenly, the kid feels an intense pain, realizing the skill's backlash has begun and the situation has gotten even worse. Van Gale scoffs, saying that the MC's and Das' energy is at its end, but the kid yells that he won't let him destroy the city. At that moment, a ball of energy flies towards Van Gale, catching him completely by surprise. Other attacks hit the area, creating several explosions, while the MC and the redhead have no idea what's going on. Ice crystals appear out of nowhere, surrounding the two, and Ash wonders if this is for real. Out of absolutely nowhere, Lice appears with her companions, looking ready for a fight. The MC is surprised. She, in turn, apologizes for being late. The girl explains that it took a while to gather everyone from the area, leaving the kid confused as to what she means by everyone. Right behind her, a whole bunch of adventurers and warriors appear. All of them point their swords towards Van Gale, and the blonde seems pretty confident that the villain's party is over. Then, the green-haired guy faces the girl who, in the most etiquette-first style, introduces herself and says it's a pleasure to meet him. It turns out her name is Arayizu Sefoe Rose Ross, and to complete the combo of surprises, she is the first princess of the kingdom. With this revelation, the MC and the redhead are left with their jaws on the floor, completely shocked. But Van Gale gives a little smirk of someone who already knew everything, commenting that so that was the situation. Just then, the green-haired guy comments that he heard rumors that the royal family has special abilities, and that, obviously, the blonde there is no exception. And the girl confirms it with complete calm, explaining that her ability is a poison application so fast it sends the target straight to their doom. She continues the macabre description, saying the target's body will be corrupted by the poison and they will suffer horribly, losing their freedom of movement. Holding her dagger, the blonde says she's looking forward to getting to know him better. Van Gale, for his part, starts laughing like a cartoon villain, finding the whole situation hilarious. He lets out one of those really loud laughs, saying this is very interesting and that he didn't imagine the days to hold so much entertainment. Lying on the ground, the MC looks at Lies, thinking he feels bad for being deceived, but damn, she's simply incredible. The girl looks back at the MC with an expression of pure determination, clearly ready to take over the whole mess. She turns to Shun and confirms everything, apologizing for keeping this little secret until now. The story reveals that it was none other than Far West Bright who altered her appearance and, for good measure, also sent her younger brother to a better place. Father of the Year is Far West. The girl then reveals that's why she desperately searched for the MC, looking for any clue, always with a smile on her face to hide all the drama. At that moment, the gears in the MC's head finally click. If Lies is the princess, then the crown prince who kicked the bucket was her brother. The princess says that Shun was completely different from what she imagined, and that he was actually a wonderful person. She doesn't stop there, continuing to praise the MC, saying he not only risked his own skin to protect her. Shun stays quiet, just listening to the princess's words, seeming touched by the speech. The blonde explains that he kept fighting to protect everyone, and because he's that kind of person, she decided to reveal who she was, even if he would hate her for it. She adds that even if he hates her, this time she's the one who will help. A powerful energy begins to envelop the princess, as she prepares to show Van Gale how it's done. The MC watches the scene, very worried, calling Liza's name as if that would do any good. But the princess tells him to relax, saying to leave it to her, because this time, she would be the one to be useful to Shun. Van Gale, finding her boldness amusing, challenges her and says he'd like to see if she can really do anything. In the blink of an eye, guy, the blonde vanishes and reappears in front of him, attacking the green-haired guy without a second thought. Van Gale is hit head-on and, when he looks at his body, he sees the poison spreading. The bill has come due. He wonders what the heck that is, and the girl just replies that she already warned him. The princess states with full conviction that no matter who the target is, no one escapes the royal family's deadly poison. The MC notices the girl's genius tactic. She's moving through the fight and spreading a poisonous mist all over the place. The green-haired guy complains that his body is still human and that it will take a while to get rid of that annoying poison. He's clearly ticked off by the situation and grumbles about the princess's absurd determination. The guy says she deceived everyone around her and went to the battlefield alone, just to hunt down some Far West guy. Then, Van Gale turns to the MC and, to add more fuel to the fire, asks what Shun Bright thinks of all this. And he drops the bomb. He reveals that the girl he protected so much was originally after the MC's own head, leaving Shun jaw-dropped. The princess, however, remains completely focused on her goal, seeming determined to end this nonsense once and for all. A memory floods her mind. Her brother's name was Lucafia Rose Ross, and he was her most precious family. The story explains that because they lived surrounded by strict customs, they were each other's only friends, the only people they could be sincere with. Sometimes the two would even sneak out of the castle together to go on secret adventures, just like in the movies. In that suffocating palace life, those moments of freedom were irreplaceable. We see a happy memory of the princess smiling, showing how content she was back then. But since a poor man's happiness is short-lived, something terrible happened. The scene changes to a younger princess yelling at her father that she couldn't accept it. In the flashback, the princess confronts her father, yelling that the one who finished off Luca was Far West Bright and questions why he's doing nothing. The king just apologizes. The king says he understands her feelings, but that his inaction is for the good of the kingdom and the world. And to make matters worse, he gives the princess a royal order. She was forbidden from laying a finger on Far West. The girl gets nervous, clenches her fist tightly, and calls her own father a coward. She yells that she doesn't care about anything anymore and storms out, slamming the door with the force of 1,000 suns. The story explains that after this family drama show, she threw herself head first into sword training, and as soon as she received her deadly poison skill, she left the castle to find out the truth on her own. That's how her path crossed with Far West's son, or MC, Shun. Back in the present, some random adventurers start yelling, telling the MC he's getting too cocky. Shun tries to argue, asking them not to joke about it because if things get complicated, other adventurers can become targets. But one of the black-haired guys doesn't give a damn and even calls the MC an idiot. The lack of awareness is huge. Liz watches the scene and wonders if this is really Far West's son, thinking he seems far from being a bad guy. And to think he received his skill as useless as level down, she simply can't understand the situation. Confused, the princess clenches her fist, wondering what the heck all of this means. Suddenly, a blood wolf lunges at the girl, catching her completely by surprise in the midst of her thoughts. The princess manages to defend herself with her sword, but the beast's strength is so great it throws her backward. She realizes she made a big mistake. You can't let your guard down against a blood wolf. The girl thinks she needs to escape quickly, as she's now surrounded by several hungry wolves. She goes into high alert mode. The situation became dangerous in the blink of an eye. And it's at that exact moment that the MC appears in front of her, acting as a human shield and starting to fight the wolves by her side. Shun yells for the princess to run, assuring her that he'll find a way to handle the situation. The girl is silent for a moment, completely surprised by his action. The story explains her shock. It's unbelievable that he can fight, since his skill should make him useless. She judged him as a villain just for being Far West's son and, because of that, put his life at risk. The princess feels like a complete idiot for her mistake, realizing how wrong she was about the MC. She thinks that even though she's only known him for a short time, she's already seen many good things. Even with his terrible skill, he fights desperately and rushes to help others without caring about the danger. The girl decides she doesn't want to lose someone who lives more honestly than anyone else, no matter what happens. The MC, obviously, remains focused on the fight, oblivious to the princess's whole existential crisis. The blonde then turns to Shun, says she deceived him, and apologizes for everything. She says this is where their paths diverge, and that, at the very least, she will defeat this guy to repay her debt to him. The MC is clueless, calling Liz's name with a question mark on his face. Manga lets out that mocking little laugh, finding the girl's determination very amusing. A powerful energy envelops the green-haired guy as he says he doesn't quite understand the situation. He glares at the princess with a threatening look and asks if she really thinks she has any chance of defeating him. The green-haired guy, with an ego the size of a castle, brags that not even the S ranks could handle him. So what could a little princess do? But the blonde replies with all the firmness in the world that yes, she will overcome whatever it takes. To provoke her, Van Gale mentions the princess's brother's name, saying he'll send her to the same place as the crown prince. Suddenly, the MC lets out a deafening scream, looking like he's about to explode with power. Shun charges at Van Gale with everything he has, determined not to let that scumbag touch the princess. The MC manages to intercept the green-haired guy's attack, who is genuinely surprised by the unexpected intervention. Liz is shocked by the MC's action, calling Shun's name, not believing what she's seeing. The girl asks why he did that, and the MC replies that the answer is quite simple. Shun Shun says he did it because her Aizi is here and that he won't let anyone hurt her. Lies, with her face all dirty, asks again why he did that, still unable to process his action. The MC gives a slight smirk, repeating that the answer is clear and simple. He says he acted because her Aizi was there, and his words finally seem to touch the girl's heart. The princess then turns her back and asks if he can forgive someone like her, feeling incredibly guilty. But the MC replies that there's nothing to forgive, as he knows very well what it feels like to lose family. A memory from the past appears, and he says he understands that pain perfectly. He even apologizes for not noticing her suffering sooner, since his only focus was on finding his own father. Shun continues, saying that if his father really took Aizi's brother's life, and if his father continues to commit unforgivable sins alongside that guy, he simply can't stand by. So as his son, the MC declares that he will stop his father with everything he has. This is his new resolution. Shun then asks Aizi to join him, wanting her to lend him her strength as a partner from now on. With a smile that lights up the battlefield, the princess accepts his request, saying she will certainly help him. Van Gale, who is just spectating this soap opera, gets annoyed and yells that's enough of this ridiculous charade. The story explains that the Phoenix's summoning has been completed. The legendary creature shoots a gigantic blast of fire, and the attack heads towards everyone. The MC and the princess are terrified by the power of the attack, and out of nowhere, another girl jumps in front of the two, looking ready to intercept the attack and save the day. In desperation, the MC yells Elisha's name, and the newly arrived blonde faces the blast of fire as if it were just warm breeze, totally fearless. The blonde then apologizes for the delay, explaining she was busy finishing off the monsters left in the middle of the mess. At that moment, she glares at the enemies with a serious look and warns that their nonsense ends here. Van Gale gives that villainous little smile and recognizes the woman, commenting, so you're the so-called Phantom, Elisha. Then, the blonde confirms and throws out a basic taunt, saying that to leave ass in that state, the green-haired guy must be pretty skilled. Of course, the redhead in the background got all ticked off by the comment, right? It's called a bruised ego. Ast, all irritated, yells that he didn't lose. Elisha, with all the calm in the world, replies that she didn't say he lost, just that he got his butt kicked. Now with a serious tone, the blonde announces that it's time for a counterattack and that she's going to make Van Gale pay for all the mess she's caused. With that, the MC tells Elisha to take care of the green-haired guy, while he and the other adventurers deal with the giant firebird. Lies, with a little smile, comments that it was Shun who motivated everyone there, leaving the poor MC all embarrassed. The story explains that for any S-rank adventurer, even in a test, this would be the time to throw in the towel and give up. But our boy didn't surrender for a moment. He kept fighting with everything he had, even when it looked like he was about to kick the bucket at any second. And it was because of this that everyone felt motivated by his attitude. After all, it's only natural that they'd want to fight alongside someone so stubborn. Elisha then turns to Ast and asks if he can still fight. The redhead replies that of course he can, and that his prey is still right there in front of him. Just then, Ast looks up at the MC and is impressed, wondering how the kid can still move after taking such a beating. The MC just thinks to himself that he still needs to try harder, because giving up is not in his script. Suddenly, a strange energy envelops the MC, and the power seems to be coming directly from the princess. He is surprised and wonders what that little power is, as he's never felt anything like it before. The story explains that every medicine is also poison, the only thing that changes is the dose. The princess reveals that among the poisons she uses, there are some that can give a temporary buff to physical abilities. She then asks the MC how he's feeling, telling him to feel the power flowing through his body. The kid's jaw drops and he says she's truly incredible, as he feels much stronger now. With this new boost, he says she can leave it to him. The MC says that with this help, he can still fight a little longer. Now the team is complete and ready for battle. Elisha and Das prepare to attack with everything they have. As then says everything's ready, and Elisha suggests they capture that guy altogether. The story explains that no matter how strong the opponent is, the adventurers are ready for a fight. Meanwhile, Van Gale watches the scene, thinking that there's nothing more they can do. He believes there's no longer any chance of victory for the adventurers. The battle is already more than decided. The green-haired guy starts to chuckle, amused by his opponent's confidence. He then lets out a loud laugh, finding the whole situation completely hilarious. The MC is clueless about the psycho's reaction and wonders what's going on. Van Gale admits that he's outnumbered and all patched up, and that the situation could get pretty bad for him. But then he looks into the void and calls out for some old man, telling him to show up already. Suddenly, space-time itself begins to shatter, and a crack appears out of nowhere in the middle of the sky. The MC watches the scene, completely shocked, as he didn't expect something like this could happen. A dark energy begins to leak from the rift, and the MC stares at the anomaly, completely baffled. Van Gale reveals that the so-called old man has been there the whole time, just watching the battle from the sidelines. The dark energy rushes forward and attacks the adventurers, catching everyone by surprise. The MC is hit head-on by the mysterious power without even having time to defend himself. The other adventurers are also caught in the attack and scream in pain as they are overwhelmed by the unknown force. Elisha and Dast are shocked by the scene, not believing what they're seeing. The MC and Lies are also hit head-on, unfeeling intense pain course through their bodies. The scene changes, and now the two are surrounded by a sea of flames. The kid, confused, wonders what happened. The MC looks around, completely shocked and unable to understand the situation. The battlefield has turned into absolute chaos. The MC and the princess look down and see all their comrades fallen amidst the flames. A mysterious voice grumbles that this is a pain and that he didn't imagine he'd have to intervene personally. The kid goes on high alert, trying to identify where that familiar-sounding voice is coming from. The shadowy figure of a man appears, saying that the experiment is still halfway through. The MC is completely paralyzed upon seeing who it is and wonders why that person is here. He simply can't believe what his eyes are seeing and questions why he's appearing in this place of all places. And to make matters worse, the story explains that this man is none other than the founder of Levantine, the organization behind all this mess. The kid completes the sentence in his mind that man is his father. Far West Bright floats in the sky, staring down at his own son, while the MC and Lies look up, not knowing what to do. The MC remains paralyzed with shock, wondering why on earth his father is here. The story reinforces that this man is the founder of Levantine, and to make things really complicated, also the MC's father. The man's name is Far West Bright, and he glares at his son with a cold and calculating look. Far West breaks the silence by saying it's been a while and comments that Shun injured Van, concluding that he's no longer a crying child. He then notices the MC's sword and recognizes that he was the one who gave the kid that weapon a long time ago. The MC's father seems very disappointed, not believing the kid is still using something like that. The MC is speechless, and the only thing he can say is the word dad. A distorted memory of his father flashes through his mind, and he can't understand the reason for all of this. Visibly nervous, the MC asks why his father sent all the adventurers to their graves, demanding an answer for that cruelty. Far West responds with total indifference, as if he couldn't care less about the question. With a straight face, he explains that the insects on the ground were in his way, so he simply swept them all away. To him, it's as simple as that there's no greater reason behind his action. The guy's coldness is on another level. The MC is shocked by the response, unable to believe his own father's coldness. Out of nowhere, Elisha grabs the MC's shoulder, looking very angry about the whole situation. The blonde glares at Far West with pure hatred and shouts the guy's name, preparing to attack. Far West just raises his hand again, and a powerful energy begins to form. The other girl who was nearby is terrified, realizing the danger that is about to come. She tries to hold Elisha back and yells for her to stop, warning that the blonde will end up kicking the bucket if she attacks. Far West then turns to Princess Raizi and comments that she still hasn't given up on avenging her brother, even after 10 years. The princess replies that he's a problem, showing she's ready to fight, even knowing the disadvantage. Ask glares at the shadowy figure and asks if he's really Far West, saying he looks completely different from 10 years ago. Far West turns and recognizes the boy, saying it seems Ast's wish came true and he became an S-rank adventurer. With a little smile, the redhead confirms and thanks Far West for training him so much in the past. But now Ask gets serious, points to the destroyed city, and asks what the heck Far West wants to do with all of this. Vangale joins the conversation to mock the redhead, explaining that it's all just an experiment to create error monsters. The green-haired guy turns to Far West, acting as if he's reporting to his superior. He shows the defeated phoenix on the ground and says this is the conclusion, even the legendary creature grew weak in this dimension. Vangale declares that the city will be burned by them, and Far West just comments that this was to be expected. The MC calls out to his father and asks him to say something, as he can't accept the situation. He remembers his father as someone who wanted to eliminate all monsters, a man who wanted to save people. The MC then asks the reason for all of this. Why is he now creating error monsters? With a cold and distant voice, Far West replies that his goal is to remake this world. The kid is completely shocked by the answer, wondering what the heck remake the world means. Vangale starts to laugh like a maniac, saying that those people hate the country so much they should be grateful for the power they received. Far West agrees and says it's true. They hate it enough to risk their own lives for it. An image of someone being used in an experiment appears as Far West says that, thanks to noble sacrifices, the experiment was a success. He finishes by saying that, because of this, he should be grateful. The coldness in the guy's words is simply terrifying. Raizi gets angry at the conversation and accuses Far West of manipulating people to turn them into terrorists. The MC's father seems surprised by the princess's comment, as if he didn't expect that accusation. He then clenches his hand and starts talking about the distortion of the world, where everything is decided by the skills you have at birth. The princess is shaken, admitting it was the royal family's negligence that ignored all of this. Far West agrees and clenches his fist, saying that's exactly what created people like Carla. Completely nervous, the princess yells, asking why on earth Far West had to send her brother, Luca, to his doom. The MC's father repeats what he said before, that all of this is to remake the world. Raizi doesn't accept the answer, but Elisha holds her back, telling her not to attack because of the huge power difference. Far West notices that Elisha's comment seems to recognize the blonde's attitude. With a little smile, Elisha thanks Far West for teaching her the basics of being an adventurer. He then reminds her of one of his teachings: never get carried away by emotions and always judge the situation calmly. Far West, with all his arrogance, says that she understood, and she already knows she can't win against him and that any resistance is completely pointless. And to prove he's a generous guy, he extends his hand and makes an offer: if they join his team, he'll grant them great power from the other side of the world. But Ast refuses on the spot without even blinking. He says straight up that if he accepted, he wouldn't even be able to look his own sister in the face. Elisha agrees and draws her dagger, warning that she won't let him commit any more sins. Meanwhile, the MC just watches the scene in silence, probably with his mind racing a mile a minute, trying to process everything. Suddenly, a memory from the past flashes in his mind, showing a really sweet moment with his father. Now it finally clicks, and the kid faces his dad. Yep, that man right there is no longer the Far West Bright he knew and admired. So he declares loud and clear that this guy is no longer his father. The determination in his eyes is chilling. Far West stares at his son with a look that could freeze hell over and asks, with a mocking tone, what the kid plans to do. The MC grips his sword with all his might, making it clear his decision has been made. The time for talk is over. With his sword in hand, the kid gets ready for a fight. Since talking didn't work, he's going to use force to stop his father. Ast, who never misses a good fight, joins him all hyped up, saying he's also going to fight to see if he can knock some sense into the old man. The princess musters her courage and says that if they all attack together, maybe they can even defeat Far West. Seeing that the negotiation has failed miserably, the MC's father turns his back. Apparently, there's nothing left to talk about. He then grips the hilt of his sword. Talk time is over now, the conversation will be settled with blades. The guy closes his eyes for a second, concentrating to prepare his next move. With a deadly gaze, Far West gets ready to attack, and a powerful energy begins to emanate from his body. He then uses his secret sword technique, and the third form is a cut so brutal it cracks the earth itself. The attack rushes forward with absurd force, splitting the ground and sending rocks flying everywhere. But the MC, showing he's not messing around, manages to defend against the blow, blocking the attack with his own sword. But even while defending, the MC is dragged backward as if he were nothing. The kid can hardly believe what's happening and wonders how it's possible for his father to be so strong. The pressure from the blow is so insane that he feels his arms trembling just trying to hold the sword in place. The MC thinks it's unbelievable. The power he's feeling is on a completely different level. Being pushed back relentlessly, the kid is at his absolute limit trying to contain this attack. Far West, of course, takes the opportunity to mock his son, asking if this is all he can do. But suddenly, Ast appears behind him, yelling that it's still too early to celebrate victory. Without even turning around, Far West calls the attack useless with a calmness that's almost irritating. With a swift movement of his sword, he launches a precise cut towards Ast. The blow passes through the redhead, who vanishes into thin air. Far West realizes immediately that he fell for an illusion spell. Oops. Just then, the real Elisha appears right in front of him, yelling that he guessed right. And the real Ast attacks from behind with full force, hitting Far West head-on with a massive explosion of fire. The MC's father even compliments their teamwork, admitting that they both improved a lot. But he finishes the sentence by saying, did they really think he wouldn't anticipate such a simple attack? Far West defends himself with absurd ease, and Ast is impressed, saying that, as expected, the old man is a monster. The redhead comments that Far West is stronger in this dimension, but warns that they've also become S-rank adventurers. He says that no matter how powerful Far West is, the gap between them isn't that wide anymore. With that, Ast focuses his energy and fires a powerful attack from above, aiming directly at Far West. The MC's father just looks up with a little smirk, finding the whole situation completely ridiculous. What he didn't expect was Elisha appearing at his back, ready to cast another spell and catch him by surprise. Elisha appears behind Far West and taunts him, asking if the world's strongest swordsman let his guard down. But the MC's father realizes that this is another illusion, understanding that the two of them set up this trap together. The blonde confirms the plan, saying she'd rather not take a hit like that head-on. Then, Ast and Elisha attack from opposite sides, coordinating their blows to corner Far West. The redhead smiles confidently, believing their brilliant plan will work. Elisha is also focused, looking super determined to defeat the enemy. Meanwhile, the MC just watches the fight from a distance, visibly worried about his friends. After the dust settles, Far West is standing there, without a single scratch from the combined attack. He glares at the two with a serious look, seeming not the least bit impressed by their efforts. Ast gets ticked off and starts laughing nervously, not believing that Far West came out of that completely unscathed. The MC's father says they did a good job and that they are definitely stronger than before. But before he can finish his sentence, he charges at Ast in the blink of an eye. The MC is frantic at the speed of the attack. He can barely follow the movement. Elisha tries to run to help, but is stopped by a strange energy that traps her in place. She explains that she's trapped by a cursed attack, and that the same thing is happening to Ast. 4OS turns with a cold gaze, warning that this kind of trick doesn't work on him. And the MC is in shock, wondering if not even S-rank adventurers together can handle the guy. The MC's father then turns to his son and says that now the kid understands the power difference it needs to choose fight or scram. The story explains that a bizarre power spreads through 4OS's body, an energy that slowly corrupts everything. And by the time someone finally realizes what's happening, it's usually too late to do anything about it. Elisha observes 4OS and figures out what's going on. She recognizes that sinister energy. But actually, the one casting the magic is Princess Rieze. She explains that it's a spell that changes the terrain, but that it comes at a very high price. 4OS looks at his own hand, which is being affected by the magic, and comments that, as expected, the royal family's power is truly impressive. The princess then yells for the MC to attack, saying she'll hold 4OS off for as long as she can. The kid charges into attack from behind, but 4OS blocks him with just one arm and still calls the attack useless. The MC is completely shocked, not believing his attack was stopped so easily. With a single sword strike, 4OS sends the MC flying without any difficulty. The MC's father then turns and says their expectations were correct, calling Princess Rieze by her name. The girl appears all beaten up, falling to the ground, and can barely ask what he meant by that. 4OS then tells Van to take the princess away, making it clear he has other plans for her. He explains that this is just the continuation of the experiment, and his goal is to fill the world with era monsters. Lying on the ground, the MC tries to get up, yelling that he won't allow such a thing. But 4OS simply appears in front of him and, with a kick, sends the kid flying again. He calls the MC immature and tells him to stay down on the ground. The MC's father says that now he must understand that among everyone there, he is the one with the least power. Annoyed, the kid thinks that the guy is right compared to the others. He is too weak. He laments not being able to master his power, even after remembering his past life. Princess Rieze, whom he swore to protect with everything he had, is now on the ground, and he couldn't do anything to save her. The kid feels completely useless and powerless, unable to think of a way out of this complicated situation. Out of nowhere, a mysterious voice speaks to the MC, saying that the hint to defeating 4OS is in his memories and that now he should be able to remember. The MC then understands that the voice is right and wonders who decided that he couldn't master the power of his past life. After all, he has always used his own strength to fight. A memory of a girl appears in his mind, saying that seeing Shung like that, she didn't want to lose him at all. The kid thinks that it's okay to be weak, and it's also okay to be made fun of by everyone. He clenches his fist tightly, thinking that if he can make the person in front of him happy, then that's all he needs. A bright light begins to shine, and the MC declares that he won't give up in a place like this. 4OS notices the sudden change in energy and is a bit confused by what's happening. Van also senses the strange presence, not understanding where it's coming from. The green-haired guy calls 4OS's attention, warning that things have gotten serious and that something has changed. Suddenly, a white-haired figure appears, looks down, and says that something bothers him. Looking at his own hand, he sees a dark energy, and the little white-haired guy says that the MC is finally awakened. And that's when the story explains the obvious: this is the original Sword Saint, the true and legendary identity of Shunbright. A level up screen appears in the air, indicating that the MC's true power has finally been unleashed. 4OS then says that the boy has finally reached his true power and calls the MC by his former name, Shun. With a new white-haired look, the MC now faces his father as an equal. He clenches his fist and says he finally understands everything. The reason his power was sealed was part of the evil lord's plan to create era monsters. The kid adds that, most likely, they didn't want this power to be used even after reincarnation. The MC's father then comments that he's referring to the Divine Shadow style, a technique the kid himself created some 2,000 years ago. The story explains that this was an invincible fighting style and that, even today, there are several styles derived from it. Even Seal, the original, spread around. The MC then says there's a good reason why the evil lord was so afraid of this technique. The kid's eye glows intensely, showing that he's more than ready to use all his power. But since a poor man's happiness is short-lived, right? Out of nowhere, a green-haired guy pops up, saying he hates to interrupt the father and son moment, but he can't let the MC cause any more trouble. The newcomer in sunglasses, all full of himself, gives a little smirk and yells that he's going to erase the MC with a single blow. A lot of confidence for not much hair, huh? Shun, who's seen worse, isn't even fazed. He just readies his sword and activates the first form of his secret technique, the Divine Shadow style. With a movement so fast we can barely see it, the MC launches his attack, and a massive blast of energy flies straight towards him. Shun's attack is so swift that he creates several energy trails across the entire battlefield, looking almost like a rave light show. The green-haired guy is completely shocked by the power of the blow. He can hardly believe what he's seeing. Being dragged backward, the newcomer admits that this is incomparable. The MC's power is on another level. From a distance, Ast and Elisha, thrown on the ground as if they just got back from a really bad party, watch everything, and the Reedhead starts laughing at the situation. The MC turns and compliments his friends, saying that each of them has become incredibly strong. How sweet. A moment of friendship swordsmanship in the middle of the chaos. Seeing this, Faroes is impressed and comments that the MC's family is full of monsters and that his swordsmanship is the same as always. He then prepares to enter the fray, warning that if that's how it's going to be, he'll have to fight seriously too. With that, the MC's father draws his weapon and warns that he's coming. The real battle is about to begin. Then, Faroes shouts the MC's full name Shunbright. Without wasting a second, he charges at his son, launching a powerful attack with a sword. The MC also draws his sword, preparing to return his father's gift. With a precise movement, he manages to block the attack, and the two blades clash with absurd force. The two stare each other down up close, and the tension in the air is so thick you could cut it with a knife as they test each other's strength. The force of the impact between the swords is so great it creates a shockwave that spreads throughout the entire area. The MC doesn't back down an inch, completely focused on finding an opening in his father's defense. Once again, the swords meet, generating an explosion of energy that cracks the entire ground. Father and son exchange intense glares, neither seems willing to give a single millimeter. Faroes quickly repositions himself, already preparing to continue his sequence of attacks. The MC defends against several blows at the same time, showing a skill with the sword that is simply out of this world. The MC's father seems surprised, as if he wasn't expecting his son to be able to keep up with his pace. But the MC is also at his limit. The difference in physical strength between the two is quite noticeable. The exchange of blows continues non-stop, and the two move so fast it's almost impossible to follow. Elisha and Dast watch the fight from a distance. The blonde comments that they seem to be evenly matched, but soon realizes she was dead wrong. The story explains that their sword technique is the same, but there is a gigantic difference in physical strength. Just then, Shun is pushed back with full force, feeling the weight of his father's power. He thinks that even though he remembers the sword saint's techniques, his current body is too weak and can't handle the strain. Faroes then asks what his son is going to do, saying he can't win like this and that he already knew it before the fight even started. The MC glares at his father with a serious look, needing to think of a plan B real quick to turn the tables. Suddenly, to everyone's surprise, the MC sheaths his sword, leaving everyone confused by this move. Ast and Elisha have absolutely no idea what's going on, wondering if Shun simply gave up. Faroes, on the other hand, seems to have figured out the play right away. He recognizes the technique as the Form Zero, a style of swordless combat that has been lost to time. The MC confirms his father's theory, saying that 2,000 years ago, this was the form he specialized in. Faroes finds that interesting and wants to see how far his son can go with the difference in physical strength between them. The two stare at each other with serious looks, and the MC's father warns that he's going to test his son's power. Without wasting time, Faroes charges forward, launching a vertical attack with his sword. But the MC dodges with impressive ease, moving with great agility. Then, Shun charges towards his father, preparing to counterattack hand-to-hand. With a swift and precise blow, the MC hits Faroes square in the chest. The MC's father immediately understands his son's strategy by being lighter without the sword. He can fight without using as much energy. The story explains that the Divine Shadow style is a legendary technique that was erased from people's memories by the evil lord. Basically, it was known as the world's strongest style and became a legend. The Form Zero, this divine style, is the first form created by the original sword saint. To use this technique, one must observe every detail of the opponent, their breathing, gaze, expression, and movements in order to take the right action. The user must overcome the fear of not having a weapon and attack the enemy with a lighter, more agile body. It requires a lot of courage or being a little crazy. It's a technique that can only be used by those who have reached the supreme level, the ultimate combat method. The MC feels the weight of his own power as Faroes is pushed back by the blow. The MC's father seems intrigued, observing his son with a very curious look. Shun stands firm, ready and prepared for the next round of the fight. From a distance, Ast and Elisha are just watching. The redhead even comments that it's pure madness to fight the old man without even using a sword. The MC faces his father from a distance, who says that, as expected, Shun really is no ordinary guy. Faroes comments that the strategy was well thought out and asks if the boy really thought the sword's same form would lead him to victory. The MC confirms and explains that the sword his father gave him is already all worn out. If he kept using it, he wouldn't stand a chance of winning anyway. The MC's father lets out a little laugh and agrees, saying that as expected of a sword saint, the boy understood the situation well. But before the MC can breathe a sigh of relief, Faroes completely changes his stance. The dark energy begins to emanate from Faroes' body. He compliments his son's Form Zero, saying it's excellent, but points out that it has weaknesses, such as a short range and a lack of decisive blows. Faroes then warns his son not to think he can defeat him without even using a sword. The MC listens to his father's warning, seeming to process the new information. Faroes is also completely focused. He's not going to go easy on his son. With that, he clenches his fist tightly and warns that he's coming with everything he's got. The MC's father shouts his son's name once more and charges forward at an absolutely absurd speed. Shun is surprised by the speed of the attack. He crosses his arms to defend against the blow, but the force of the impact is gigantic. Without giving his son a second to breathe, Faroes continues his sequence of attacks. A massive explosion erupts at the point of impact, showing off the insane power of Faroes' blow. That's gonna leave a mark, but to find out if it hurt or not, you guys are going to have to blow up the comments asking for part 2.